Hello, this is the first part of Not Home Anymore by Dazanone. Link in the description. All author's notes have been removed between chapters, also any NSFW scene will be removed. This part will cover chapter 1 to 4. Let's get started. Chapter 1, A New World. Ne Erosenin, how much further? Asked a boy around the age of 15, 16 with blonde hair in spikes. He wore a black with orange jacket and dark orange pants. He had his kunai holster tied to his left leg. Gaki, shut up, we just entered fire country, it's still a long way, replied a man with long white spiky hair. He had 2 red markings coming from his eyes down to his chin. So how do you think Konoha evolved in all this time? Asked the boy looking up at the sky and tapping his chin. Well, surely it is back to its formal glory, right? Was the reply he got from the pervert as said pervert started writing something on his notepad. Yes, I think that is true, replied the blonde with a shrug. We need to stop, said the man as he looked away from his notes. Why? Whined the blonde boy with a pout. Because it's getting dark, snapped the man, turning his head towards his protégé. The boy frowned. But I miss Konoha. He whined, I want to go back now. He continued whining while looking away in anger. I know, Naruto, but we still have a long way to go. We will have to make camp here for the night. Why don't you go and take some firewood? Asked the old man, whose name was Jiraiya. Fine, replied Naruto, bored, as he started running towards the woods. After looking around for a little, he found a place with a bundle of firewood. He started picking them when he heard a twig snap. He threw a kunai in the direction of the sound and it hit a log. He heard someone clapping. I'm impressed, Naruto-kun, said a cold, calculated voice. Itachi, Naruto growled while jumping in a fighting position. So you remember me, said the voice again. A shadowy figure jumped down from a branch and landed in front of Naruto. Why don't you be a nice Jinchuriki and come along peacefully? He asked, holding his hand in front of Naruto. Naruto slapped the hand away from his face. Never, you will have to defeat me, he said stubbornly. Very well then, said Itachi, lowering his hand and closing his eyes slightly. Naruto didn't wait for Itachi to attack and started running at blinding speed towards him. He delivered a punch but was caught by Itachi, and he spun around and delivered a roundhouse kick only to be blocked. Naruto jumped down and studied Itachi. He created a Kagabushin and hanged it into a large Fuyuma shuriken. He threw the Fuyuma shuriken towards Itachi, and the Uchiha jumped away, avoiding the attack. Impressive, the Uchiha said. Then you will like this, yelled Naruto as he appeared behind Itachi and thrusted a spiraling ball in his back. Rasengan! He yelled. The attack hit Itachi, who disappeared in a puff of smoke. It was a Kagebushin. Naruto turned around and saw Itachi delivering a punch. He caught the fist and moved his leg to hit Itachi in the ribs, and Itachi spun around, appearing behind Naruto, and kicked the boy in the back. Naruto flew and hit a tree. He fell on his back. Itachi wanted to continue, but he felt a powerful chakra heading towards him. I wish I could continue, but it seems that Jiraiya is coming, so I will immobilize you and flee with you. He started doing hand signs. Dog, rat, rooster, boar, monkey, ox, dragon, rat, rabbit, dog, snake, goat. He finished immobilizing jutsu. He yelled. A bright yellow light shot towards Naruto. The boy yelled in pain, and then suddenly Itachi realized something. Damn, that is not good. I mistook the last 3 hand signs, Arisab. No matter, he should still become immobilized. He thought, and then his eyes widened when Naruto disappeared in a yellow flash, and the ground where he stood was now burned and black shadows were rising. Leader will be furious, said Itachi as he disappeared to study what happened. A few seconds later, Jiraiya appeared at the scene. Naruto! He yelled. This is not funny, where are you? He asked. Then he saw the black markings and the shadows that were rising from the ground near a tree. He walked up to them and studied them carefully. What happened here? He asked. He put his finger on the marking and felt a great surge of power. He immediately threw his finger back. Who did this? He asked again, looking around for answers. In another place, Naruto felt cold. He felt something wet on his back. He slowly got up and looked around. His eyes widened. The entire area was filled with snow. He studied everything closely, and he didn't see anything but large trees, larger than the ones in Konoha, and snow as far as the eyes could see. He then remembered the encounter with Itachi and shot up and looked around. He didn't see Itachi. He couldn't feel Itachi. Something was wrong. Then he heard a roar behind him. When he turned around, his eyes widened. There stood a large white bear. The bear raised its paw to swipe Naruto. The blonde boy jumped, avoiding the attack. The bear charged again, his eyes filled with bloodlust. Naruto took a kunai out and was about to stab the bear when a paw cut his back. He turned around and saw another bear. He jumped up to avoid the first bear, who hit the second. They turned towards him and started attacking him. Naruto, not paying attention, tripped on a rock and fell. He started rolling down the hill. When he stopped rolling, the world went black. The last thing he saw was that the bears retreated. A few moments later, he felt someone touching his neck. He slowly opened his eyes and saw a strange man. He looked young, and his head was covered with a green cowl. Only his eyes were visible. Even the face was covered with what seemed a green mask, made out of the same material like the cowl. The man had pure golden eyes that seemed to radiate. On his shoulders there was a strange armor. It was white with a brown design that looked like roots, and in the middle of them was a strange light blue orb on each shoulder pad. He had a long dark blue robe with black lines. On his chest there was a shirt of some sort with the design of a skull. He had gloves and a belt the same color like what he wore on the shoulder. Tied to his waist was what looked like a mace, and he had a big bag on his back. "So you're awake?" said the man, taking his hand away from Naruto's neck. Naruto nodded. Not trusting his voice, he saw the man offering him a hand. He gladly took it and got up. When they were both standing, he noticed that the man was taller than him. Heck, he was taller than Jiraiya, but what caught his attention was the ear that were long and pointy, but not like a fox or wolf. He looked at them in amazement. "Oh, what's the matter?" asked the man. "Never seen an elf before?" Naruto looked at him questionable. "Elf? What is an elf?" asked Naruto curiously. The man looked at him curious. "You're not from here, right?" he asked, and Naruto nodded. The man nodded. "The elves are ancient species. We live much longer than humans, and we can communicate with nature. We are easily recognized by our tall figure and long ears. We are nature's guardians, and we fight for its safety." Naruto nodded. "I understand." "Good, then tell me, little one, what are you doing here?" "Winter Spring is a dangerous zone," the elf said slowly. I don't know. I was fighting someone near my hometown, and then I appeared here where bears attacked me and I fell down," he said, pointing to the trail in the snow made by his fall. The elf studied Naruto and then nodded. "Well, the bears here don't like when someone crosses their territory." He said, "So, where are you from?" "I'm from the village of Konoha," said Naruto proudly. The elf looked at him and shook his head. "Sorry, I never heard of it." Naruto looked in disbelief at him, and his mouth opened. He closed his mouth. He didn't know what to say anymore. If he didn't know about Konoha then... "Do you know about the Fire Country or Wind Country?" he asked. The elf shook his head. "I am sorry, I never heard of those, and I travelled everywhere," he confessed. Naruto looked down sad. The elf saw this and smiled at him. "Don't worry, we will find out where these places are, and we will make sure you go back," he said. Naruto smiled. Then he remembered he didn't get the name of the elf. Could you tell me your name?" he asked, scratching the back of his head. "Sure, my name is Zagak." He said, "What is your name?" "Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konoha," he said, pumping his fist in the air. "Hokage?" asked Zagak. "What is that?" the elf asked again, raising an eyebrow. Naruto looked at him in disbelief, but then he shook it, knowing that if he didn't know about Konoha, there was no way he could know that. "Well, a Hokage is the best ninja of the village." "I see, like a leader?" asked Zagak. "Yes," said Naruto, smiling. "I understand, but what is a ninja?" he asked, and Naruto face-faulted. "I never heard of that. Ninjas are highly trained assassins that work in groups of 4 and accomplish missions for their country. They use ninjutsu for offensive and defensive attacks, genjutsu, which are illusionary techniques, and taijutsu, which is hand-to-hand combat," explained Naruto. "So you are something like rogues," said Zagak. "Rogues?" asked Naruto, not understanding. "Yes. You see, like what you said, rogues are assassins, but they don't use that ninjutsu what you said or genjutsu. They do sometimes fight hand-to-hand, but most of the times they fight with swords or daggers." Naruto scratched the back of his head. "Oh." Zagak looked at the sky, then back at Naruto. "We should get going. It is getting dark, and Elune forbid us if darkness catches us here." "Who is Elune?" asked Naruto, tilting his head to the side in confusion. Zagak looked at him, shock written all over his face. Every human knew who Elune is, or at least was. He shook his head. I will explain later. Now want to come with me? There is a town not too far from here. Naruto nodded and started following the elf. As they were walking, Naruto saw a lot of strange creatures. There were some type of birds that had two heads and were completely white with some black marking and large wings. They were bigger than a bird, even bigger than him. They could be half of one of Gamabunta's legs, and they were longer, reaching to about 5 to 6 meters long. The other creatures that fascinated Naruto were some sort of human and bears or something. They had a strange face that resembled a mixture of bear with human. They had two horns on top of their heads and they had hooves instead of legs, thought they were walking like normal humans, but instead of hands, they had claws. Zagok told him that they are dangerous and it would be bad to come face to face with one of them and not be prepared. It didn't take long for them to reach a road. Once they reached the road, Naruto looked left and right, and he saw to his right in the horizon a large tree, larger than then Hokage Monument. And when he asked what it was, Zagok stayed silent. So he dropped the question. To his left, he saw just trees, hills, snow, and the road. Zagok continued walking down the road towards the left with Naruto behind him. A few hours later, they arrived at a small crossroad. They could turn to the right or go straight forward. The elf turned to the right and Naruto did as well. A few more minutes of walking up a hill, they arrived in front of some strange-looking houses. It was nothing like Naruto had seen before. They were taller, had only one level though. The roof was like a ship's hull, or at least only the model. On the street and the edges of the buildings there were some lanterns that shined a beautiful light blue colour. In the air there were blue lights flying everywhere. What are these? Asked Naruto, pointing to a blue light. Those are lesser spirits, Naruto, the elf replied casually. Oh, Naruto replied. He still was a little confused though. Zagok started moving again and Naruto followed. He didn't want to get lost. After walking a little more, they arrived at the entrance to a large building that had 2 levels. Naruto saw there were 2 guards at the entrance. He blushed when he studied them. They were elves like Zagok, but they were female. They wore metal armor on the entire body, only that the armor showed their cleavage and their bodies really good. They were quite thin and gorgeous. They were quite thin, and they had what seemed Fuma shuriken in their hands. Zagok approached them and saluted them. The 2 women smiled at him and bowed graciously. It's good to see you are back, Zagok, said one of the guards. Thank you, I found the herb I was looking for and came back. Who is the cute boy? Asked the second guard, making Naruto blush. I found him while I was returning. He was attacked by bears and fell down a cliff. You should have been careful, said the first guard. Now we don't want to make him feel bad. I came here to stay for the night and then I will leave to Darnassus, said Zagok. Okay, come in, the second guard said. Zagok motioned to Naruto to follow him, and he did. Once inside, he found out that they were in an inn. There were doors to rooms on the left and right side and a staircase that led to the second level of the building, where there were more rooms. The elf approached the man at the desk and smiled at him. The man smiled back. It is good to see you are unharmed, druid, said the man. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What is a druid? He thought. Yes, I would like 2 rooms for the night for me and the boy, he said, pointing to Naruto. Certainly, the 2 doors to your right are free, he said, giving him the keys. Zagok paid the innkeeper and walked to Naruto. He gave him a key and showed him his room. Naruto entered his room and saw a large bed, so large that 3 people would fit. There was a lantern like outside inside the room near the window, and the light was present, but weaker than the ones outside. There were strange flowers in a vase on a table near the bed. There was a mirror on the wall near the table. Naruto walked in the room and sat on the bed. He turned around and saw Zagok close the door. The elf looked at him before talking. I want to ask you what you will do tomorrow. I will leave this place. Naruto looked down. I don't know. I don't even know where I am. The druid looked at him. You are in Azeroth, my boy. Naruto looked at his questionable, and then the druid understood, but he wanted to make sure something. Do you know what Outland is? Naruto shook his head. The elf frowned. Just as I thought, you aren't from this world. Naruto fell off the bed. Where am I then? He almost shouted. Like I said, you are in Azeroth, explained Zagok. How you got here, I do not know. Maybe you do. Naruto thought for a second. Last I remember is that the one I was fighting was trying to immobilize me with a technique, and then I remember waking in the snow. The druid pondered for a second. He then nodded. Maybe that person did something wrong and sent you here by mistake. Naruto looked out the window. I see. Is there a way back? He asked. Not that I know of, but if you come with me, you might find your answer, he said. Naruto looked at the elf. He closed his eyes. Well, I would come, but could you tell me something? Sure. What is a druid? He asked. A druid is someone that communicates with animals and plants. The druid can transform into an animal as well. He can call upon the force of nature by creating lighting, or making roots come out of the ground and so on. The druid can sometimes pacify animals. Naruto nodded. Okay, I think I understand. Good, you should sleep. Tomorrow we have a long way to go, said Zagok as he walked out the room. Naruto leaned on the bed and turned his head to the lamp. He wasn't sure if it's all right to let his guard down. Sure enough, the druid proved to not lie and not wish him any harm. But what about the others that were in this small town? He didn't want to relieve the beatings from his past again. He managed to get away from them. He closed his eyes and his mind drifted to Konoha and his friends, that were still there. He cursed Itachi for what he did to him. He cursed his luck for letting Itachi take him down so easy. Then his mind drifted to Sasuke, the boy who he considered to be his best friend, the boy who betrayed him for power and went to Orochimaru just so he can destroy his elderly brother. His mind then went to the pink-haired girl called Sakura. Sure enough, she never treated him like a human. Ever. But still she was his friend, and she accepted the fact that he failed the first time to bring Sasuke back and accepted him. He smiled when he remembered what she said. She would help him in bringing back the traitor. Then he remembered about Tsunade. She would be worried sick now if Jiraiya arrived in Konoha without him. He wondered how hard Tsunade would beat the old pervert for loosing her adopted son. Naruto sighed and opened his eyes again. Looking at the lamp, he felt a wave of comfort heading towards him. He smiled and closed his eyes, drifting to sleep. Something told him that he will be safe here. Next morning, the morning found Naruto sitting on the bed looking out the window. He could see elves walking down the streets, smiling at each other and greeting one another. Sometimes he would see small people with long beards walking around. They were also greeted and they greeted back. He wondered who they were and what they were. The door slowly opened to reveal the innkeeper with bread and a large cup filled with milk on a tray. The innkeeper placed the tray on the table and smiled at Naruto. Zagok told me to bring you food. He also wants you to go outside once you are done eating, he said. Thank you, responded Naruto, bowing his head. The innkeeper smiled and left. Naruto walked towards the table and looked at the food. He started eating and drinking. He found the food to be quite good. After he was done, he realized that the food he had eaten was enough, and it completely filled him. He grinned and took the tray to the innkeeper. He handed it to him, thanking him once again, and gave him the key to his room. Naruto walked outside and saw his new companion talking with the two guards from yesterday. I'm telling you, it's too dangerous, said one of the guards. I know, but it is the only way. I can't take the hippogriff because they might shoot us down, and I can't use my spell to teleport to Moonglade because the boy won't appear on the other side with me, and the possibility for a warlock to be present there is very low, explained the druid. The guard sighed. What about your cat? I'm afraid I left Nightwalker at the stables in Astrana. Why would you leave him there? Asked the second guard. I couldn't afford to risk his life to come here. The guard sighed again. I guess you're right. She turned and saw Naruto at the door and smiled. Good morning, young one, she said. Morning, replied Naruto, uncertain. Zagak turned around and saw Naruto. He smiled under his mask. His eyes turned to a U like Kakashi's visible eye when he smiled. It's good to see you are up. Enjoy the meal, he asked. Yeah, I feel full, replied Naruto, happy. That is good. Well, we should get going. We have a long way to Ashenvale, said Zagak, putting his bag on his back. Take care and don't overdo it, said the first guard. Yes, we do not want to lose another druid, replied the second. You do not need to worry. We will be safe, come Naruto, said the elf. Naruto nodded and waved at the guards. The two women smiled, and him and one of them kissed him on the forehead and wished him luck. Naruto blushed and nodded. The druid looked at the boy and snickered at his reaction. After walking a little, they were out of the town and on the main road again. Zagak was in the lead. and Naruto was close behind him studying the area. As they were walking, they arrived at another crossroad. Naruto saw that one of the roads lead to another town, but the elf turned and walked towards the opposite direction. When Naruto turned, he saw in the distance a bright blur. Zagak stopped as well and looked. After a while, the blur became visible, and a man with golden helmet and golden armor on a horse who had yellow armor stopped in front of the druid. The druid sighed in relief. "For a second, I thought you were a blood elf," he told the man. The man looked angry. "We are nothing compared to those traitors." He spat. "My apology," the druid said with a small bow. The man turned his head and ordered his horse to continue moving. He disappeared fast. Zagak just shook his head and started walking again. Naruto ran up to him. "Who was that?" asked Naruto. "That young one was a paladin, a human." "What's a paladin?" asked Naruto. "A paladin is someone who worships the light and fights the darkness. It is said they have received blessings from the gods, and they can also bless someone else if they wish. They are holy knights that mostly fight the undead and the scourge," replied the druid. "Oh, and what is a blood elf?" "Well, I have to say that there are two types of elves. The night elves, such as me, and the blood elves. Now, the blood elves are sometimes evil or good. They suffered many losses in the past, and unfortunately that led them to a wrong path. They had become addicted to magic. They would do almost anything to devour the magic from creatures." "What is magic?" asked Naruto. Zagak frowned but answered nonetheless. "Magic is a form of fighting and defense for some of us. It can be used to create fireballs, ice bolts, or call upon the elements to aid us. Also, magic can be used to heal others when they are wounded." "Just like jutsus," thought Naruto. "And how do you use this magic?" he asked. "To use magic, you need to have mana, which is the spiritual energy. Also, to use magic, you need to know the right incantation. So, in a way, it's like chakra," thought Naruto again, and nodded. The rest of the way they walked in silence, but it seemed that Zagak didn't like that silence. Naruto understood that he was expecting to be attacked at any point, and he didn't blame him. He didn't like all this peace and quiet, not one bit. After a while, they arrived at a large entrance to a cave. It was guarded by 4 or 6 things that looked like bears. They had the face of a bear. Around the neck, they had a necklace of some sort with leaves and small teeth. They had either a light brown color fur or a completely brown fur. They carried weapons such as small swords and staves. One of the creatures saw them approaching and sniffed them. He started talking in a language Naruto didn't understand, but it seemed that the druid did. "What do you want?" asked one of the guards. "We wish to pass and reach Felwood," responded Zagak. "And who are you? And who is the boy? We do not let anyone pass that easy." "My name is Zagak, and I am in good terms with your leaders," he said, and took a ring out of the pocket and showed it to the guard. "The ring of acceptance, very well. You may pass, but not the boy," said the guard. "But you have to let him pass. He doesn't know this place, and it is too dangerous to fly over Felwood." "I do not care. He cannot pass." "Let me talk to your leaders. They will understand," said Zagak, looking furious. The guards studied him and nodded. He started walking towards the cave, and Zagak followed him. He motioned to Naruto to do the same, and the boy complied. "What's happening?" asked Naruto, seeing the druid angry. They won't let you pass," said Zagak. "Why is that?" "Because a few decades ago they were driven out of Felwood by the scourge and were betrayed by some of their brethren, and soon they lost respect for many and found shelter only in this cave, which is the only passage towards Felwood. Usually to pass this place, you need to complete several tasks, but we do not have time for that." As they continued walking, Naruto felt the cold stares directed to him. He could feel like he was back in Konoha when he was young. The only difference was that these things didn't attack him like the villagers used to when they saw him. He heard the creatures growl at him and trying to intimidate him. He also saw some that were preparing their weapons in case he tried something funny. After a little walk, they entered a large room. In front of them were 3 of the creatures he saw all around, only that these ones were bigger than the other. He heard Zagak starting to talk to them. They would roar and hym and growl at Naruto from time to time. After some yelling from the druid, the creatures started glaring at both of them. Naruto saw the druid point at the 3 creatures and yell at them. And then he saw one of them reaching for a spear while the other 2 had their spears in their hands. They started yelling at the druid, and the druid listened to them. When they were done, he told them something. Naruto didn't know what he told them because their eyes went wide and started nodding. After that, Zagak just placed his hand on Naruto's back and smiled at him under his mask. "You can pass," he said. "What did you tell them?" asked Naruto. Zagak looked at the three creatures and shook his head. "It is best you don't know." Naruto nodded, thinking it would be good to listen to him. He turned around and left, following the elf. They continued their walk through the cavern. The creatures' glares seemed to disappear slowly, and once they were out of the cavern, Naruto's eyes went wide in fear at the sight. On the other side, in the place called Fellwood, the grass was a poison green. The animals looked sick, and some were missing parts of their skin and were dying a slow and painful death. When Naruto looked at the trees, he saw some where in a bright green flame the ground was scorched and nothing seemed to grow there. "Ugly, I know," said his companion. "What happened to this place?" When the scourge attacked, this place was severely hit. The dead defolated this place and used it as summoning grounds for more demons. The creatures that started walking this ground burned everything they stepped on. The poisons spread by other demons infected the nature and killed almost everything. This place has been dying ever since. Sooner or later, not even the trees will be left standing," said the druid with a sad voice. "Didn't anyone try to stop this scourge? And what is this scourge you keep talking about?" The scourge was created and controlled by Ner'zhul, a magical being of tremendous power. Ner'zhul sought warlock powers and delved deeply into demonic magic until he was confronted by Kil'jaeden, the Dark Lord of the Burning Legion. Ner'zhul bargained with the... After his defeat by the Alliance, his body was ripped to pieces and his spirit tortured, until Kil'jaeden decided to use him as the leader of a new attack on Azeroth. The demon lord encased Ner'zhul's spirit in a cast of ice, gathered from the twisting nether, which was called the Frozen Throne. To keep his minion and his tremendous new powers in check, Ner'zhul, now the Lich King, was embedded in a great glacier in Northrend and watched over by the vampiric dreadlord agents of the Legion. Explained the druid while walking on the burned road. "You told me who controls the scourge, but not what they are," said Naruto. Ner'zhul, now the Lich King, used his vast and powerful consciousness to reach out to the native inhabitants of Northrend. The Lich King then used the plague of undeath, which originated from deep within the Frozen Throne, to infect and destroy a human settlement on the fringes of the Dragon Blight. As more creatures swayed to his influence, the Lich King became more powerful, as their souls brought him nourishment. Soon, every human encampment in Northrend had been infected, and the Lich King began erecting a stronghold on Icecrown Glacier. His undead army continued to grow daily. "So that means that the scourge is made out of undead? Walking dead?" asked Naruto, scared. "Yes. Ghosts, skeletons, zombies, everything you can think about being dead, and it's not." Naruto shuddered. "Are there ghosts here in the forest?" "No, not anymore. Their souls were put to rest after years of battles, and for the other question, yes, many people tried to get rid of the scourge, but after many battles the result was the same: defeat. The numbers of fighters dropped considerable and they stopped fighting and started defending their homes." "One more question," said Naruto. "Okay, go ahead. What is the Burning Legion?" The Burning Legion is the huge demonic army created by the Titan. When Sargeras the Dark Titan decided to set the universe aflame, after becoming deeply sorrow-stricken by evils that manifested from the twisting nether, he created a demonic army to serve that purpose. The Burning Legion was led by Archimonde the Defiler and Kil'jaeden the Deceiver, two Eredar warlocks who possessed immense power. Explained the druid. "Anything else you want to know?" What are warlocks?" asked Naruto, unsure. Warlocks are those who have delved deep into demonic magic. Their strengths lie in the resourcefulness of their summoned minions and their ability to inflict pain over time and destruction with spells. One unique ability of warlocks is their power to summon demons to their aid. A warlock can summon 4 types of demons, binding them indefinitely until death or dismissal. These 4 types of demons are the Imp, Voidwalker, Succubus, and Fellhunter. Naruto nodded. "So warlocks are the cause of all this?" "Not entirely. You see, the Alliance, which consists of humans, night elves, dwarves, and gnomes, have warlocks in their ranks. These warlocks assist us in battle and send the darkness back from where it was summoned." "What are dwarfs and gnomes?" asked Naruto. That you will see later on, young one. It is too hard to explain at the moment. Naruto frowned but accepted the fact nonetheless. He continued to look at his surroundings, amazed of the destruction. He would sometimes see deers that would drop on the ground and die, and he felt sorry for the animals. When he looked around, he also saw dead bodies or skeletons on the ground. The druid explained that they are remains from the last battle that took place there. When they were going down the path, Naruto gazed to his left and saw 3 strange statues on a lake that resembled something. He didn't know what they were, and he didn't ask. Gazing down at the bottom and on top of the water, he saw something strange. There was water on the ground moving left and right like it would be walking. They had arms and yellow eyes and some strange bracelets on the wrist. Naruto looked at the druid and then back at the strange creatures. The druid nodded. Those, my friend, are water elementals. The spirits of the water created them. Naruto nodded. He looked around again and saw strange rocks that formed a huge body walking around. These rocks were flaming. The flames had a dark green color. And those are infernals. They were summoned here from hell. Their fire can burn the skin easily, explained the druid. They won't attack us if we don't get too close. Naruto nodded and moved closer to his companion. The druid placed a hand on his head and smiled at him. There is no need to worry. They continued walking down the road. Zagak said that it is safer to stay on the road since most monsters appear in the middle of the forest. And it was also safer because there were no bandits that could attack them since they would be foolish to come in such a place as merchants never come on this road. A few hours later they arrived at some ruins. From what it seemed the place used to be a village, the druid became more and more alert. Something was amiss and Naruto felt it also. The druid suddenly took 2 bottles out of his bag. He gave one to Naruto and told him to drink it while holding his left arm, and he also drank one of the bottles. Once that was done, Naruto looked to see where the druid is. He couldn't see him and started looking around worried. He felt something dragging him away. He was being dragged near a tree. Keep quiet, said a voice. Who are you? Stuttered Naruto with fear in his voice. It's me, Zagak. I drank an invisibility potion and so did you. The effects are temporarily but enough to hide us. Now stay quiet. Someone is coming. With that silence filled the air, suddenly Naruto heard something. It sounded like a horse galloping, or more than one. He looked around trying to figure out where the sound was coming from. When he looked in the direction where they were going, his eyes widened in fear. On the bridge stood 3 horses, but not any kind of horses. You could see their bones. Their hooves were burning a blue or red flame, and instead of the hair on the back of their heads, they had either red or blue flames. On top of them were 3 strange people. Their hands were bones, their legs the same. The one in the middle had a strange black mask covering his entire head. He had black armor, and on his shoulder the armor seemed to form blades. His pants were also black, and he had black shoes that were ripped, and Naruto could see the bones and some flesh. The one to the left had a helmet that seemed to be made out of plate. Like the first one, it covered his entire head, and the top of the helmet had the model of an axe. The helmet was a grey colour. The body armour was also grey, and on the shoulder the armour ended in blades that looked like an edge of an axe. His pants looked like it was made of metal or something. The colour was again grey. His shoes were like the armour, and his gloves had the model of an axe on them. The last of the riders had a cowl over his head covering it. If you would look close, you would see 2 red dots that seemed to be the eyes. He wore a bloody red robe, some gloves and no shoes. Naruto could see his bones and part of his flesh. The one with black armour jumped off his steed and started walking around. What are you looking for? Asked the one with the robes. For Naruto, it seemed like he crackled something. I thought I sensed something here, said the black-armoured one. Your bloodlust is talking for you. This place is dead. Nothing comes here. Let's just go and hunt something down. I want to eat some flesh, commented the one with grey armour. The robed one nodded, and the guy with black armour got back up on his steed. They started galloping away, but before they were out of sight, the one with black armour looked back once again. His eyes resting on Naruto, the blonde boy felt a chill running down his spine. That strange person was strange. When the rider turned his head, he disappeared in the woods with the rest of his companions. Naruto started shivering for an unknown reason. He looked to his left and saw the druid there. The potion must have worn off. That is not good, Zagak said. Who were those? Asked Naruto, scared. Not even the villagers could have scared him like that. Those riders just gave away an aura of complete death. Their eyes showed no mercy at all. Those are undead, Naruto. The boy's heart jumped. You mean dead people? Yes, dead people. If they would have caught us, we would have died a painful death. We must run fast. If they catch us here, we are dead, he said, getting up. Naruto nodded and started walking with the druid across the bridge, but he couldn't shake the feeling that they were being followed. He glanced at the druid, who was drawing something on a piece of paper. After walking a little more, they arrived at the edge of Fellwood. From what it seemed, the grass started to become more livid. The animals weren't sick anymore, and the trees weren't on fire. Also, the sky was a-cleaning, the smoke disappearing slowly, but from what it seemed, they walked the entire day because the moon was present on the sky and stars visible. Then Naruto felt a chill. He turned around but didn't see anything. He looked at the druid, who was also looking behind them. He turned to Naruto and gave him the paper he was drawing on a few hours ago. I wish I didn't have to do this, but you are going alone to Astronar. He told the blonde boy. Why? He asked. We are followed. Remember the 3 riders? He asked, and Naruto nodded. They are here somewhere. Naruto started to tremble, but then he remembered he was a ninja and he could fight. But I can fight them, he said. I know you can. I can feel your power, but one of them was a warlock. So? I can take him, said Naruto. Maybe, but there was a warrior and a rogue amongst them. And also, they never travel in packs of 3, and if they followed us, they might intend to attack Astronar. You need to go there and alert everyone to be ready, just in case. But what about you? Asked Naruto with concern. He felt the ground tremble. He turned around and saw a giant walking tree. His eyes widened and got ready to fight, only to be stopped by the druid. I called him here, he will help me. Now you must go, and don't worry, they won't take me down too easy. But go, Naruto, ordered Zagak. The boy nodded and started running. As he started, he heard a crackling sound, something like a yell. He turned around and saw Zagak, with his mace in his hand blocking a large axe. He saw the tree holding the black armored man, but he didn't see the one with robes, the warlock. He turned around and saw the warlock on his horse in front of him. Naruto stopped a few meters away from him. The warlock dismounted, and a strange black swirl appeared in his hands. Then he extended one of his arms towards Naruto, and a shadowy bolt shot towards him. Naruto used a kawarimi as fast as he could, replacing himself with a log. When he looked at the log, saw that the bolt made a hole in the middle of the log and that it started to burn from the inside. He felt the warlock's gaze on him once again. This time, fire started to form in his hands when Naruto thought that whatever he was doing was ready. A strange cat with long ears and the design of a paw on its chest appeared out of nowhere and hit the warlock, making him lose concentration and the fire to disappear. I told you to run, yelled the cat to Naruto. Naruto was dumbstruck for a second, but when he saw the cat growl at him, he started running, following the map. Taking one last glance behind him, he saw the cat becoming taller, the tail disappearing and armor appearing. The cat transformed into Zagak, and Naruto now remembered when he told him that druids can shape into animals. He saw Zagak stretching both arms with his palms open towards the warlock, and a strange light shot from the sky and hit the warlock. Naruto turned around and started running faster. Naruto has been running for hours. It seemed an eternity. He couldn't help but be worried for the druid who stayed behind to fight alone, and while not alone, he has a big tree helping him. But still, Naruto was leaping from branch to branch trying to reach his destination. He looked on the map again and saw he should be close to a lake. He jumped down from the tree and landed in a graveyard. He looked around and saw the lake and a small town in the middle of the lake. He started running towards the road and then towards the village. When he arrived at the bridge, he was greeted by 2 guards, female again. Hello, young traveler. How can we help you? Asked one of the guards. Naruto was holding his knees, panting. He said, pant, to warn you in case, pant, they want to attack. The guards looked at each other and then back at Naruto. Who said? Who is attacking? They demanded. Zagak and I were traveling through Fellwood when we came across 3 undead. When we entered this place, they attacked, said Naruto. Oh no, said a guard. Boy, tell us what were they? Well, one was a warlock, the other a warrior, and finally a rogue. He heard the guards gasp. It is not normal for them to work in groups of 3, said a guard to her friend who nodded. Go and tell the others. she said. The first guard nodded and started running across the bridge. She stopped in the middle and turned to Naruto. "Come with me, boy," she said. Naruto nodded and started following the woman. Once they crossed the bridge, Naruto saw the same model of buildings like in the last town he was, but unlike there, here were more guards than there. They patrolled the street in group of 2. They were either female or male, but only night elves. Naruto followed the woman till they reached a large building with 2 levels. There he saw 2 guards, male guarding the door. "What brings you here, Vanna?" asked one of them. "I'm here to see the captain. We have a druid out in the forest attacked by 3 undead," she said in a hurry. The guard's eyes went wide and nodded. Naruto followed the woman inside. There he saw a woman with long silver hair and green eyes looking on some papers. There were 2 other guards, but female. On their head there were helmets. It covered their head and their noses. The woman with silver hair looked at the guard known as Vanna. "What brings you here?" she asked. "Forgive my intrusion, Captain Sylvanir." "This boy has something to tell you," she said, pointing to Naruto. "Well, go on, boy, tell me," she said with a kind and warm voice. "My friend Zagark is under attack by undead at the edge of Felwood," he said. He saw the guards stiffen and the woman looking at him with anger. "I hope you aren't lying," she said enraged. Naruto shook his head. It is true, he is under attack by 3 undead. This made them stiffen even more. "3?" asked a guard. "They never attacked in 3 for years," said the second. "Do you think they are planning something?" asked the first. "Maybe." "Quiet," said the captain who was trying to think. "What do we do?" asked Vanna. "Nothing," she said. "What?" yelled Naruto. "You can't leave him there to fight alone." "Boy, do you know who Zagark is?" asked the captain calmly. "He is a druid. Why?" "He is more than that. He can take care of 3 undead." "Captain, you should know that one of them is a warlock," said Vanna, and the captain's eyes widened. "You 2, she said, pointing to the guards near her. "Follow me, we are going after him." "Yes, ma'am," they said. "I'm coming too," said Naruto with determination. "I am sorry, boy, but we cannot risk it. If what you say is true, you do not know how to fight a warlock," said the captain. "And what am I supposed to do them?" asked Naruto enraged. "Vanna, take him to the inn and let him there for the night. I will look for him when I get back," said the captain, and the guard named Vanna nodded. Once the captain was out, Vanna led Naruto to the inn. The blonde boy was angry. He wanted to help, he could help, and here he was not being able to do anything. As they entered the inn, they were greeted by the innkeeper, an elderly-looking elf. Vanna explained the innkeeper everything, and she nodded. She led Naruto to his room and let him there. The boy threw himself on the bed and looked outside the window and frowned. He couldn't help but be worried for the outcome of this. He doesn't know this world, and it seems like the druid is the only one at the moment that could help him. Chapter 2. To Darkshore. It was morning in Konoha. It was the 2nd day since Uzumaki Naruto had been attacked by someone and disappeared without any trace. Jiraiya just arrived in Konoha. He shook his head as he knew what will happen when the old hag finds out. As he was walking down the streets of Konoha, he was formulating a plan, an excuse as to why Naruto was missing. Just then there was a puff and an Aenbu appeared in front of Jiraiya. "The Hokage wants to see you, Jiraiya-sama," he said, disappearing again. Knowing that there was nothing else left to do, Jiraiya disappeared in a puff of smoke, only to arrive a few seconds later in the Hokage's office in front of Tsunade, who was awake and doing paperwork. When the Hokage heard the puff of smoke, she glanced in front of her and saw Jiraiya, but no Naruto. She brought her hands to her chin and waited. "Well?" she asked after a few moments of silence. "Well, what?" asked Jiraiya, trying to buy some time. "First of all, how was the trip? Second, where is Naruto?" she asked. Jiraiya started to sweat, and of course that didn't go unnoticed by Tsunade. "Well, the trip was uneventful, and we did everything according to plan with no interruption." "So that means that you managed to teach Naruto everything that was necessary?" "Yes," responded Jiraiya. "What about the Akatsuki? Did you find any information about them?" she asked. "I found out that in a few months they will start moving out to capture the Jinchuriki and extract the bijous. So that leaves Naruto a few more months till they come for him," the Hokage said, and Jiraiya nodded. "But do tell me, where is Naruto?" Well, you see, he said, sweating. Tsunade started to laugh. He is at Ichiraku, isn't he? Jiraiya started sweating even more. Well, Tsunade stopped laughing and saw how nervous Jiraiya is and started to suspect something. Jiraiya, where is Naruto? With Naruto. The birds were singing, the sun was up, it was morning. Naruto could feel the rays of the sun on his face and smiled lightly. His eyes slowly opened and the memories from yesterday replayed in his head. His smile disappeared and he shot out of the bed and got dressed as fast as he could. He ran out of the inn and straight to the building in which he went last night. When he arrived at the door, he saw the two guards from last night. He wondered how come they were still able to stay awake. "Good morning, boy," said a guard. "Good morning," responded Naruto. "Is it possible to talk to the captain?" He asked, uncertain. "It depends," said the second guard. Naruto looked at him, questionable. "On what?" He asked politely. "Well, she is talking with someone now, and it depends if she will be able to talk to you too." "Oh," said Naruto. "May I ask who she is talking to?" The guards nodded. "With a druid she brought back last night." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Could I go in?" "I know who the druid is," he said, alarmed. The guards looked at him before they nodded and let him pass. Naruto opened the door and stepped in. Unlike last night, the two guards weren't present in the room. When he looked around, he saw the captain on her feet in front of someone who had his back at her and was studying a book from one of the bookshelves. "What were you thinking?" She yelled at him angrily. "Sylvania, please calm down," said the man, flipping a page from the book. "Calm down? Calm down? Why should I? You could have died." She yelled, "But I didn't. It takes more to bring me down." He told her calmly. Sylvania started shaking. She hit the book, throwing it on the ground. "What would have happened if they did manage to kill you?" That got the man's attention. He turned to her and looked at her with kindness in his eyes. "Never talk like that. But you went up against 3 undead, 3, she said as she started sobbing. The man who now Naruto recognized as Zagak moved to the captain and took her in his arms, hugging her. "I know, but remember that I faced much worse." "Like what?" she asked between sobs. "If you remember, I had to face Ragnaros in the depths of the earth. You do remember who he is, right?" "The Fire Lord," he said calmly. Sylvania stiffened for a second. "Yes," she said with a low voice. "I remember. And I got out of it with no problems, right?" "Yes," she said, tears still falling down her eyes. Zagak took her chin and raised her head to look in his eyes. "Now please calm down. I don't die easily." The captain nodded and lowered her head again. Zagak pulled her back in the hug and turned his head to Naruto and smiled underneath his mask. "Good morning, my young companion," he said cheerfully. "Hey," said Naruto. "So how did you sleep?" asked the druid. "Fine, I guess. I was a little worried." He told him. Zagak chuckled. "You weren't the only one." He told Naruto, glancing at Sylvania. "Why don't you take a seat?" He asked Naruto. Naruto nodded and sat down on one of the chairs near the window. Zagak parted slowly from the hug and looked at the captain, whose head was still down. He put his hand on her shoulder and guided her to her chair. After she was sitting down, Zagak went and picked up the book and put it back in the shelf and took a seat in front of the captain. "You all right?" he asked her. The captain gave a nod and looked back at the elf. "Good," he told her, smiling. Sylvania smiled back and looked at Naruto. "So how did you meet the boy?" She asked him. "I found him in Winterspring in the snow. He was attacked by bears," said Zagak. Naruto scratched the back of his head, grinning sheepishly. The captain shook her head, giggling. "What?" asked Zagak. "Oh, nothing," she lied. "So tell me what you are doing here." "Can't someone visit an old friend?" he asked, pretending to be hurt. "Zagak, don't do that. You were here a few weeks ago," said the captain, shaking her head. "Well, we are heading to Darnassus, and Astronar was in the way. Besides, I left Nightwalker in the stables here," confessed the druid. "Oh, your cute companion," said Sylvania in a tone like she was almost squealing. "He was so nice. He didn't cause trouble, I hope." "No, not at all," said the captain. "But I hope you don't mind that I took him out for hunting on several occasions," she confessed. Zagak shrugged. "I know he is in good hands if he is hunting with you," he told her, making the captain blush lightly. "So anything else as to why you are here?" "Yes. Do you know how the roads to Darkshore are?" asked Zagak. "Only minor attacks from the Twilight faction and the Naga, except for that, nothing else," replied the captain. "All right, then I guess we're good to go," said Zagak. "Already?" jumped the captain. "Sorry, but we need to get to Darnassus fast." "I know," said Sylvania, with her head down. Can't you stay a little longer? Well, I guess we can leave afternoon, stated Zagark with his hand under his chin. The captain smiled. All right, because I need to show you something. Meet me at the hippogriffs in an hour. Sure, said Zagark, standing up. He turned to Naruto. Come, I will teach you something in the meantime. Naruto's eyebrow rose. Teach me. Yes, come with me, said Zagark, walking out the door, followed by Naruto. A few minutes later, they were at the bank of the river. Behind them were buildings. Zagark glanced over the land and turned to Naruto and smiled. Well, Naruto, how would you like to learn how to make roots come out of the ground? He asked the boy. Naruto's eyebrow rose once again. Make roots come out of the ground? He asked, not understanding. The druid nodded. Let me demonstrate. The druid then brought his hands together. He departed them and placed his right foot in front of his left, now facing Naruto, and bent down a little. He brought his right hand in front of his chest and his left hand near his left leg. He started chanting something Naruto didn't understand, and green swirls appeared in his hands. He opened his palms and moved them a little towards Naruto. The green swirls disappeared. Naruto thought nothing had happened for a second. Then he felt something underneath him, and a root shot from the ground, grabbing his left leg. Another came out, grabbing his right leg. Another one came, grabbing his chest, and then two more, grabbing his arms. Zagark then, with his right hand extended to Naruto, started closing his fist. Naruto felt like the roots were closing on his body, trying to break his bones. 1. Naruto closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. Then the roots dropped on the ground, and Naruto opened his eyes and saw the druid standing straight, looking at him and smiling. Sorry I hurt you, but if I would completely close my fist, your bone would crack and you might die. What was that? Asked Naruto, amazed. That is called entangling roots, and it does just what the name says. Naruto nodded. So how do I do it? Well, for starters, you need to imagine roots coming out of the ground and entangling your target. Second, you need to focus on the ground. And third, you need to know the words. But the third step is optional. Responded Zagark. What do you mean optional? I mean that this spell doesn't quite require for you to chant being able to use it. Oh, said Naruto. Well, if you want, you can start, said the druid, sitting down. Use that post over there, he told Naruto, pointing to a post to Naruto's right side. Naruto nodded and got in the same position the druid was and closed his eyes. He imagined the roots coming out and entangling the post. He then sent chakra in the ground. He opened his eyes and continued to imagine the roots coming out. But nothing happened. He kept sending chakra in the ground, but nothing would happen. You are an idiot brat, said a deep demonic voice in Naruto's mind. Kyuubi, asked Naruto, blinking. Who else do you expect to be in this hellhole? Spat the fox, annoyed. Naruto ignored Kyuubi and started to concentrate again, trying to make the spell, as the druid called it, work. It will never work because you aren't a spell user, idiot, said Kyuubi, getting bored. Like you know, retorted Naruto. Yes, I do. If you would take my advice, then listen to me and do some hand seals and call a name for the jutsu while imagining what that elf told you to. Naruto mentally shrugged and started thinking of hand signs. Zagark, who was looking at the time over Naruto, felt another presence stirring inside the boy. He raised an eyebrow when he saw the boy spacing out. He also felt that the presence was not natural, like something had happened to it. A spirit? The druid asked himself, an animal of some sort. He thought again, looking at Naruto. It seems restless. Something is tampering with the spirit. He thought once again, trying to understand what he was feeling. I should ask the archdruid when we get to Darnassus and the boy. An hour passed fast. Naruto didn't manage to do anything. The druid looked at the sky and sighed. He got up and walked to the blonde boy. I will be back soon, he told him. Okay, said Naruto with his eyes still closed. The druid smiled. He liked that the boy was perseverant. He turned around and started walking to the hippogriffs, whatever that was. A few minutes later, Naruto came up with some hand signs. He taught again, and when he was sure they were right, he started doing them. When he was done, he called out the name of the jutsu, which he thought should remain the same as the name of the spell. Entangling roots, said Naruto, moving his opened palm towards the post. Slowly, roots started to come out of the post, entangling the post. Then Naruto started to close his hand into a fist. The roots started to close on the post. Cracking sounds could be heard. When Naruto's fist was closed, the roots were entangled so hard on the post, It looked like the post was actually broken in pieces, and when the roots would disappear, the wood will fall on the ground. Naruto smirked and opened his palm and let his hand drop down. Then roots receded in the ground, leaving the post barely standing up, and all cracked. Konoha Hokage office. At the moment, Jiraiya could be found on the ground rubbing his head. His left eye was black. At the table, you could see a red Tsunade, but not because she was embarrassed or anything like that. She was fuming. She was angry and beyond pissed. Who attacked him? Demanded Tsunade. I already told you I do not know. Tsunade let out killing intent and gritted her teeth. Someone must have attacked him, and he must have left a trail. She said, angry, I already checked the place. There is nothing that leads to anyone, just some strange markings and black shadows rising from the ground, said Jiraiya, standing up. I want you to take a team and investigate, demanded Tsunade. And what should I take? I don't know anyone that can understand markings, or who knows. Now even you don't know what you're saying, said Jiraiya, chuckling. If I wore you, I'd be careful to what I say, said Tsunade, dangerously making Jiraiya's chuckle stop. Okay, I understand, said Jiraiya, shaking under her gaze. Good, take whomever you think is capable and bring back results, said Tsunade. Right away, said Jiraiya, disappearing Tsunade, then turned to the window and gazed outside. Where are you, Naruto? She asked herself. Somewhere in sound. Sasuke was fuming, he was angry. Orochimaru dared to interrupt his training, and for what? He asked himself. Actually, not even he knew what he was called for. He shrugged and stepped into the snake's throne room. You called Orochimaru sensei? He asked. Yes, it seems I located Itachi, even if it was for a few moments, said Orochimaru, grinning. Sasuke's Sharingan flared. Where? He demanded. It seems he had attacked your old teammate Naruto, said the snake, chuckling. I don't care about that idiot. Where is Itachi? I hope he didn't kill him. Orochimaru stopped chuckling and looked at Sasuke. No, he is not dead, but your old teammate. He stopped to see how the boy would react. Sasuke's Sharingan stopped flaring, and he was now looking questionable at Orochimaru. The dope didn't die, did he? He thought, I need to fight the dope. He can't die. Sasuke glared at Orochimaru, demanding to know what happened. Well, Sasuke-kun, my spies tell me that Itachi engaged Naruto when he was gathering firewood. Sasuke's eyebrow rose. Why would my brother attack the dope? Don't you know? Mocked Orochimaru. Know what? Hissed Sasuke. Oh, about the truth, said Orochimaru in a mocking tone. What truth? Demanded Sasuke, hissing with his Sharingan activated. That the Kyuubi isn't dead. It never was dead. It was sealed inside a blonde boy named Uzumaki Naruto. Sasuke stared at Orochimaru. Don't lie to me, he said dangerously. He saw Orochimaru grinning. The foolish snake was thinking that he can't defeat him. How wrong he was. Oh, I am not fooling you. You see, no one can defeat Kyuubi, so the only way to stop him is to seal him away, which is what exactly happened, said Orochimaru, grinning. Sasuke's Sharingan deactivated. That doesn't explain. Itachi? Asked Orochimaru. But it does, you see. He is part of an organization called Akatsuki who track down the 9 bijous. Akatsuki capture the containers called Jinchuriki and extract the bijous. Too bad that the Jinchuriki die when the process is over, he said, pretending to be sad. The information shocked Sasuke lightly, and then he remembered the battle at the Valley of the End when Naruto used the strange chakra and he demanded to have it, and his ex-teammate told him he would give him, if he could, because it was a curse for him, and it would be for anyone that would have it. And what happened to Naruto? Asked Sasuke. My spies tell me that Itachi tried a jutsu to immobilize him, but did the jutsu wrong and… Orochimaru paused to find the right words. Vaporized him, he said with a sadistic smile. Sasuke flinched. He's dead? He asked with no emotion. I don't think so. From what it looks, he was teleported somewhere, or who knows, said Orochimaru, shrugging. Sasuke turned his head to the side and started thinking. He turned around and started leaving. I'm going back to train, he told the snake. When Sasuke was out of the room, he started to ponder. For the first time in 3 years, he was concerned for Naruto. No, scratch that. For the first time since the massacre, he started to get concerned over someone. I wonder where the dope is, thought Sasuke as he was walking down the dark hallway. With Naruto was standing on the grass looking up at the sky. He had practiced for an hour and finally broke the post and had nothing else to do, and he didn't want to do any other jutsu as to not arise questions for him and Zagak. He heard footsteps and turned his head slightly to where the sound was coming from. When he looked, he saw the druid there, smiling at him. "So did you do it?" he asked. Naruto nodded, and the druid looked at the post and saw it in pieces. He looked back at Naruto and smiled. "Well, if you are done, let's go and eat. We will need to leave in 30 minutes. "Yatta!" yelled Naruto, jumping up and running up to the druid. "Do you have any ramen?" he asked. The druid raised an eyebrow. "Ramen? What is that?" Naruto's eyes went wide. "You don't know what ramen is?" he asked, not believing the druid shook his head. "Never heard of it. It's like noodles with meat." Tried to explain Naruto. Zagok brought his hand to his chin. He shook his head. "Sorry, Naruto. We don't have noodles, but you can find them in the Eastern Kingdoms, across the sea." Naruto frowned. "Then what are we going to eat?" he asked. "Come with me," said the druid, smiling. "We have our own specialties." Naruto nodded and followed the druid. A few moments later, they entered in what looked like a small restaurant. They sat at a table near the window. After a few minutes, a waitress came. "May I take your order?" she asked kindly. "Could we have a menu first?" asked the druid. "My companion is new to this food," he said, pointing to Naruto. "Of course," said the waitress, handing them a menu. "I'll be back soon," she told them and left. Naruto opened the menu and looked inside. There was a wide variety of food, and he even found fish sticks. He decided he would have that. After about 10 minutes, the waitress came back. "So what will it be?" she asked. "I will have the fish sticks," said Naruto. "I will take the fish sticks as well with vegetable delight," said the druid. The waitress nodded and left. After staying in a few minutes of silence, Naruto spoke. "Zagok?" "Yes," responded the druid. Is the captain her your girlfriend's?" he asked, not sure. The druid chuckled. "No, Naruto, she is not and never was. She is a good friend." "Oh, what gave you that idea?" he asked. "Well, it's how she acted with you and how you acted with her." He said sincerely, "It's understandable, but no, we acted like that because, well, she really was afraid to lose me." He said with a tint of sadness in his voice. "Why is that?" asked Naruto. "Well, you see, when war broke here years ago, her family and friends went to fight the threat and they all died," he said, making Naruto flinch a little and lower his head. "And she lost almost everything." "She doesn't have any family members alive anymore?" asked Naruto with sadness in his voice. "She only has a little sister as family left, and for friends, she has me. We know each other for a long time, and I was always there to support her, so that's why she was so scared to lose me. And then she has 2 more friends still alive, but they disappeared mysteriously." "Oh," said Naruto, "I understand." Zagok saw the boy was sad. "There is no need to be sad, Naruto. Things like death are bound to happen." "I know, but it's just that." Naruto stopped as their food came. They started eating and didn't talk the entire time. When they were done, the druid paid for their food. Naruto saw that he paid with some sort of silver coins. They left the restaurant and headed towards the northeast where a second bridge was that would allow them to cross the lake and continue their journey. As they were walking down the street, Zagok turned and entered a building that looked like a stable. When Naruto looked inside, he saw strange animals. They looked like cats, but they were much bigger, had big canines. Some had some sort of armor on them, while other just a plain cloth on their backs. A few minutes later, the druid came out, followed by a black cat with white stripes that was as big as Naruto, had big canines that would be able to kill almost anything instantly. The cat also had a strange armor on the head, body, and legs. The cat approached Naruto and smelled him. Naruto stiffened. "Don't worry, Nightwalker won't hurt you," he told the boy. "What cat is this?" he asked shakily. Zagok chuckled. "This is not a cat. Well, he is close to a cat, but he is known as a night saber. Like a panther, if you wish." Naruto nodded. "And is he your pet?" The druid chuckled again. "You can say that, but he is more as my traveling companion. He is like a horse if you want." Now Naruto understood. The druid used the strange cat to ride it like a horse. Well, the cat looked to be somewhere close to the size of a horse, if not a little bigger and more massive. "Well, let's go," said Zagok, moving away, followed by the cat. And lastly, Naruto, when they arrived at the bridge, they were greeted by the captain of the town and her own cat. It was as big as the druid's, but it was white with grey stripes, and it also had the same armor as Zagok's. "Hello, Sylvania," said Zagok. "What are you doing?" "I'm coming with you." She said, "Why?" Because I'm sick and tired of hearing my friends disappear on the battlefield. One day, I will be left and alone with no one. I can't take it anymore, she said, angry. And do you think anything would change if you come with us? Asked the druid. At least if I come with you, I know I have a friend near me. You are the last one. Everyone else is dead, she said with a sad voice. Besides, my sister is in Darnassus, so I will be able to visit her too. But what about your post here in Astronar? Asked Zagak. I promoted one of the guards. He was supposed to take my spot next month anyway, she said, shrugging. Zagak shook his head. I guess there is no way I can convince you to stay, right? No, she said, smiling. At least you brought you armor and sword. I brought everything I have. She said it was then that Naruto saw how she was dressed. It is true she had what Zagak explained him plate armor made out of the strongest minerals. The former captain of Astronar had a shoulder guard in the design of a semicircle. She had metal gloves with the design of an eagle on them. On the chest she had plate armor, but it looked strange. It put her cleavage in evidence. The armor was like a bra, only that it went down and stopped above her belly. Her pants were the normal design, but they were made again from plate. The armor had a greyish color. Naruto found himself staring at the woman in front of him. She sensed the stare and turned to the boy and giggled at him. What can I say? This is my best armor, she said, turning her head. Her silver hair reached down to her bust. Zagak shook his head. I told you to get a new armor. Like when? She scowled. You don't like how I look? She asked teasingly. I don't understand why you women have to dress like that. Sylvania shrugged and got up on her cat. So where to? She asked, smiling Darkshaw. Responded Zagak bluntly. Where is that? Asked Naruto. Follow me and you will see, replied Zagak. Smiling, Naruto grinned and followed the druid across the bridge. They now had a new companion. Naruto and Zagak were walking in front with Nightwalker behind them, and lastly, Sylvania, on her cat, moving at their pace. As they were walking, Naruto saw animals he recognized, such as deers, wolves, and bears. But he also saw the animals, or whatever they were. They looked like the ones from Fellwood. When he asked Zagak if they were related, he told them that, in a way, yes, but this ones were much more aggressive and would attack anyone. A few moments later, the ground started to descend. They walked past two pylons that formed a gate, and when Naruto looked in front of him, he saw a large building about 40 meters tall. Maestra's post, said Zagak. Huh? Asked Naruto. This is Maestra's post, responded the druid, pointing to the building. This served as a watchtower, and it still serves. When they finished their descent on the road, they were greeted by more night elves. Zagak explained that they were the post's guards. They passed the post and continued their march. After a few hours, they stopped abruptly. In front of them was a rider that stood on a horse whose legs were on flames and its coma as well. The rider had a black hood and a green with black robe that covered his entire body. When Naruto looked at the rider's face, he saw two red dots, and his mind flashed back to the undead. He got in fighting position and was about to attack when the rider spoke. I've finally found you, the rider said in a dark voice. It took me a long time to track you down, Zagak. I'm that hard to find? He asked. The rider nodded. I am here to give you something, the rider told the druid. Reaching in his robe, Naruto was about to attack. Zagak saw this and stopped him. You don't have to worry, Naruto. She is a friend. Naruto looked at the druid. She? Zagak nodded. Kylia, would you remove your hood, please? Certainly, the rider said. This time the voice was softer and warmer. When the rider removed her hood, it revealed a young woman around the age of 18 with brown eyes and long black hair. She smiled at Naruto. Naruto then noticed that she had the same shirt that the druid had with a skull on it. How come you have the same shirt like Zagak? Asked Naruto. The two looked at each other and then at their shirts. Zagak chuckled. We are from the same organization. He told Naruto, organization? Asked Naruto, tensing. What do you do in that organization? We fight the undead, the scourge, and the burning legion, said the woman called Kylia. So you are good guys? Asked Naruto, untensing. Yes, responded Zagak. Now, said Kylia, taking a crystal from her robe. This is what you needed, right? The druid nodded. Yes, a red prismatic crystal. All right, and here is my department, she said, throwing a small bag to the druid. 300 gold. Thanks, where are you going now? Asked Zagak, the Zoram Strand. She told them why there. Asked Sylvania. It seems like the Naga have become more active recently there, and I am to investigate. Zagark nodded. Well, be careful, all right? Kylia nodded. Will be. I will see you again, okay? Of course, said the druid. Kylia put her hood back and turned towards the forest and disappeared behind the trees. Said Naruto, what are Naga? The Naga used to be night elves, until something happened which I am not going to get into detail, said Zagark. But I can tell you how they look, you see. The Naga generally have a humanoid torso with a snake tail in place of their legs. The males appear more serpentine. The females still look elven, but can have 4 or more arms, and possibly fins for hair. And they aren't friendly anymore, added Sylvania. Naruto nodded. After that, the group continued their march. After walking a little more, the environment started to change again. The trees became darker and so did the ground, but it still held the living touch. Naruto was studying everything around him. The place looked darker than Ashenvale. And maybe this is why they called it Darkshore. Zagark looked up at the sky and saw it was getting dark. He told the group they would stop for the night, even tough they were only a few hours away from the next village. They left the road and entered the woods. A few moments later they arrived in a clearing. Zagark and Sylvania took out some blankets. Zagark took out one more, clearly for Naruto, and gave it to the blonde boy. He then walked into the forest and came back a few minutes later with firewood. They started a fire to keep them warm. You should sleep, Sylvania. Tomorrow we have a long way. He asked, sure. Who is inside of you? When the druid was sure she was sleeping, he turned to Naruto. Could you answer me a question? He asked, sure. Who is inside of you? Asked the druid, startling Naruto. What spirit do you carry? Naruto's eyes went wide. He didn't want him to know about Kyuubi. What if he would do something like the villagers? He started to hesitate, gaping. The elf saw this and smiled at Naruto underneath his mask. I'm here to help. You can tell me I won't harm you. Naruto sighed. I don't know that for sure. Why are you so afraid to talk about it? Asked Zagark. It's because I was always shunned because of him, because people thought I was what I am carrying and that I am a demon. I see, said the druid. Well, I can't force you to tell me, but if you do tell me, I promise I won't do anything like that. I understand people and judge before acting. Naruto sighed and nodded. Well, it's like this. 15 years ago, my village was attacked by a 9-tailed fox demon, the strongest of the tailed demons. When it attacked the village leader, the 4th Hokage had no choice but to seal the demon in a newborn baby since he couldn't defeat it. Naruto paused. He wanted a child to be seen as a hero for the burden, but people shunned him and taught their children to do the same. I grew up alone, helped just a little by a few people that knew I wasn't a demon. Naruto paused again and sniffed. But there were those that wanted to kill me. For 12 years, I was beaten to near-death situations. He chocked a little. He was holding back tears. After I graduated the Ninja Academy, I got some friends and then more and more, but one day I fear that they will shun me if they find about the fox Kyuubi. Zagark nodded. The boy carried the spirit of a demon fox with 9 tails. You know why I asked that? No. Naruto said quietly, it's because I felt the fox, and there is something strange about it. Naruto looked up. What do you mean? I can feel that the spirit of the fox is controlled or something. I don't know how to say it. He explained, what do you mean controlled? I mean that something is making the fox evil. Naruto stood in silence to think. They stood in silence for what seemed hours. Then the elf let out a yawn and lay down to sleep. After he closed his eyes, he said one last thing. You should know, I don't think of you as a demon. You still are a human boy. My opinion on you hasn't gone down. With that, he fell asleep. Naruto smiled, but then the smile faded when he thought about what the druid told him about Kyuubi, that he was being controlled. He sighed. He didn't know what to think anymore. He lay down as well and let darkness take over him. The next morning, Naruto woke up to the smell of something cooking. When he opened his eyes, he saw Sylvania cooking some fish. She was in the same armor like last time. She bent down to take another fish from the ground, exposing a little more of her cleavage. Naruto felt blood coming out of his nose and fainted. After a few minutes, he woke up to see a cat with long, pointy ears like an elf's looking at him. Ah! Screamed Naruto, jumping up. He then heard the cat chuckle. Zagark, I told you not to scare him, said Sylvania, who was sitting on the ground. Sorry, I couldn't help myself, said the cat that scared Naruto. Zagark? Asked Naruto, not sure. The cat nodded. Remember when I said that druids can change to animals? He asked, and Naruto nodded. Well, this is one of the animals I can change into. He said, Zagok, did you look around? Asked the woman. Yes, I didn't sense anyone, only some harmless animals, responded the cat. All right, then I guess we wait for you and Naruto to eat, and then we are set to go. The cat nodded. It suddenly started to grow, the tail slowly disappeared, and the cat completely changed. Now, instead of the cat stood the night elf known as Zagok. The elf took 2 cooked fish. He gave one to Naruto and started eating the other one. Naruto followed suit. Naruto, said the druid. When we get to Darnassus, we are going to talk to the Archdruid. Archdruid? Asked Naruto. What is that? The Archdruid is the most powerful druid in the world. He responded, the most powerful alive that is. Naruto nodded. When they were done eating, they packed everything and made sure they erased the fact that someone had been there last night. They left the woods and arrived on the road once again. They continued their travel to the next town called Oberdeen. This town was a port town. From there, they would take a boat to a nearby island called Teldrassil, where the capital city of the Night Elves is. As they were walking, night elves on armored cats passed them coming from the direction in which they were heading. Naruto looked at his 2 companions, who frowned. It seems that the priestess is on alert again, said Zagok with a sigh. Priestess? Asked Naruto. Yes, our leader is a female priestess, follower of Elune, explained Sylvania. That reminds me, said Naruto. Who is Elune? Sylvania's eyes went wide. You don't know? She choked. Naruto shook his head. Zagok chuckled and decided to explain. Elune is the major deity worshipped by the Night Elves. She is associated with the larger of Azeroth's 2 moons, the White Lady. Elune is the only true goddess in the world and the most powerful Eternal in Azeroth. In the world's infancy, she protected all living things and allowed them the chance to grow and thrive. Whenever she found violence, she would cast her calming influence across the land so that peace and healing might be given another chance to thrive, said Sylvania to Naruto. Thus it was for many centuries until arcane energy began to leak into the world through the Well of Eternity. Despite her attempts to guide them away, she watched in horror as her spiritual children were drawn to the well and seduced by its power. Though her companion Malorn and their child Cenarius joined her faithful among the Kaldorai in an attempt to stave off the arrival of the Burning Legion, the demons spilled across the land in a wave of death and destruction that even the moon goddess could not prevent. Explained the druid, sadly gazing at the sun. Sylvania decided to continue. Just as she felt she had once again accomplished her task and brought Azeroth toward a new era of peace, the human kingdoms fell under the corrupting influence of high elven magic and crumbled into chaos. Shortly thereafter, the Orcish horde came to Azeroth and sparked a new era of warfare that threatens to consume the world like the War of the Ancients did so long ago. Elune never engages in combat of any kind, nor does she allow it to occur in her presence. Though she never physically manifests in the world of mortals, when she involves herself in a violent situation, she arrives invisibly and undetected, using her song of peace to calm the combatants until sunrise. Explained Zagok. Do you understand who she is? Asked Sylvania. Yeah, I guess I do. She is a powerful god. Exactly. But what is the Well of Eternity? Asked Naruto. I think you need to explain this, Zagok, said Sylvania. All right, said Zagok. The Well of Eternity is a massive pool of water infused with raw mana at the base of the World Tree. Coveted by demons, warlocks, and many mages, the well is the greatest source of arcane magic in the world. While the World Tree's powers have suppressed the corrupting nature of this magic for centuries, if the tree were ever destroyed, this well would be the source of unfathomable power to an evil creature powerful enough to wield it. Oh, I see, said Naruto. The rest of the journey was done in silence. Naruto had no more questions, or at least for now. After hours or walk, they finally arrived at the next town. Of course, buildings like the last ones, only that this one had a port and Naruto could see in the distance 3 ships. Zagok and Sylvania started walking towards the port, followed by Naruto. They entered the port's main building and found out that the next boat to Teldrassil will leave in an hour. They went on the docks and found the boat. It was big, About 1,000 people would fit with no problem inside. Sylvanir took the two cats on board. Zagark and Naruto were about to board when they heard someone calling for them. They turned around and saw a strange man with a black robe and a scythe on his back. Zagark casually walked towards him, followed by Naruto. When they were face to face, Naruto could feel that the man's aura was strange. What do you want? Asked Zagark. A piece of warning, said the man. Warning? Asked Naruto. For what? Don't worry, boy. I have a warning for you as well, said the man. Naruto gazed at the scythe. It was radiating a dark energy, an energy that said and had death written all over it. Speak then, said Zagark. You, druid, you will meet death in front, and if you aren't careful, you will die, said the man with no emotion. The man then turned to Naruto. You, boy, will find someone, and when death will stalk that someone, you will have to choose. What does that mean? Asked Naruto. War is approaching, be wary, said the man, turning around to leave. What war? The only war going on is with the Burning Legion, said the druid, a war from which both factions might die if you aren't careful. The man said, disappearing in the middle of the port. Naruto looked at Zagark, who had a look of horror on his face. The druid turned to Naruto. What was that? Asked Naruto. I have no idea, confessed the druid. What did he mean? I don't know, said Zagark. Chapter 3. Pacify long-term mission. Tap. 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 That was the sound that could be heard in the cabin that Naruto and Zagark shared, with the occasional sounds of water hitting the sides of the boat they were currently on. As they left, a storm started. Even though the island of Teldrassil was close right now, it would take them at least an hour to get there. They had to move slowly so that the boat won't be turned around or they won't hit a rock and sink, which would be bad. The tapping sound came from the game of chess the druid was playing with one of the sailors. The sailor was yet another night elf. It was strange for Naruto. Since he arrived in this strange new world, he had only seen one human, the cocky paladin. Except for that, he saw more night elves. Naruto glanced over at the game of chess. It was boring for him, but the two players seemed to be in a sort of trance. They were so concentrated that they didn't seem to notice anything around them. Strangely, though, every time the ship would turn too much because of a wave and the bag near the druid would start moving from its position, the druid would extend his arm to grab the bag and place it back where it was. Give up? Asked Zagark. The sailor shook his head and moved another piece. You should give up, Zagark shrugged and moved another piece, blocking the sailor's king. The sailor smirked and took the piece with his king, not noticing the trap. Checkmate, said Zagark. The sailor scanned the table and saw that he indeed had fallen in a trap. The sailor frowned. Round 2, sure, said the druid, placing his pieces back on the board. Man, this is so boring, whined Naruto, grabbing his head. Right, single quote, tap right, single quote, might be for you, said Zagark, starting the game. Why don't you go outside and look around? Tap. Naruto was looking at his companion with an expression that asked if he was serious. I could fall overboard because of the storm. Tap. No, said the sailor. I doubt it. Tap. Why don't you look for Sylvanir? Asked Zagark. I think she outside in the rain. Naruto shrugged and walked out the door. He didn't want to stay there. It was too boring for him. He walked up the stairs of the ship. The ship wasn't too big. The cabins were at the bottom of the ship. In its hull, the second floor was the kitchen and mess room, and last floor was the outside. Think of the ships from the medieval age. Too hard to describe. Once outside, Naruto was greeted by a splash from a wave. He cursed the clouds and looked around. There were sailors running everywhere, holding ropes, making sure crates didn't fall overboard, and making sure they don't fall overboard. He glanced to the side of the ship and saw the female night elf who had accompanied them from Ashenvale. Naruto walked up to Sylvanir carefully so as not to slip on the floor. The woman somehow felt him coming and turned her head around to see him. She smiled at him and motioned for him to join her. Naruto grabbed the wooden support of the ship and looked in front of him. The sea was agitated. Black clouds were on the sky and a small lighting could be seen sometimes. Naruto glanced over to the woman, who, despite the fact she was soaking wet, she seemed to be in deep thought. Naruto wanted to start a conversation with her, but he didn't know what to say. She looked at him and smiled. So how is Zagark doing? She asked. Naruto frowned. He is still playing chess with that sailor. Sylvanir giggled. I don't know why, but he just likes that game. Naruto shrugged. Why would he like it? He asked, It's boring. He says it's good for concentration, she told the boy. She then looked back at the sea. But I still can't concentrate when I play it. Naruto then looked around once again. He saw the captain of the ship giving orders to his men. He seemed like an old person. And he had a long white beard and silver hair. He had an eye patch over his left eye, and a long sword strapped to his back curved slightly. What intrigued Naruto was that the sword was glowing. Green Dot Naruto started looking at the sword like it was something he had never seen before. In fact, it was something he didn't see before. He saw that the druid's mace was glowing a faint blue colour, but he thought it was just a reflection or something. The sword the captain of the ship had was very interesting. It made Naruto wonder what power it held, what that colour meant. Dot Silverneer looked back at Naruto and saw him staring at the captain's sword. She was confused why he was studying the sword with so much interest. It wasn't like it was something special. That sword was forged in Darnassus, and it was one of the basic swords. She opened her mouth to ask him why he was studying the sword when he beat her to it. Silverneer, why is that sword glowing green? Asked Naruto. The woman was puzzled. It's been enchanted. She responded. Naruto turned to look at her questionable. Enchanted? He asked. Don't you know what that means? She asked, not believing. Naruto scratched the back of his head and laughed nervously. No, I haven't seen anything like it before, Silverneer frowned. Well, when someone wants his or her weapon to become more powerful and when striking to give poison, fire, water, ice damage or anything like that, they go to an enchanter. The enchanter is the person that makes the weapons and even armors enchanted by giving them more resistance or damage. Naruto looked at the sword again and grinned. Do you think I could have such a weapon? He asked. Silverneer smiled at him and his behavior. He reminded her of some of her old friends when they first saw an enchanted weapon. Why don't we ask Zagok? He has a lot of money, and I'm sure he would help you. Naruto nodded happily and started running back to the entrance to the ship's stairwell, but because of that he slipped on the wet floor and landed in some boxes. He tried to get up, but then he slipped again and fell on his back. Silverneer saw the boy's little act and giggled at him. She walked carefully to where he landed and offered her help to him. He grinned and took her hand and carefully got back on his feet. They both started walking to the cabins. Zagok was now on the bed looking at the ceiling. His mind was empty, completely empty. He didn't know what to think about or what to do. After he had beaten the sailor the second time, they were about to start a third match when the sailor was called to help in the kitchen. He heard someone knock at the door. Not even sitting up, he told the newcomers to enter. He heard some footsteps and then the door close. He sat up and saw his soaked companions. He took the blanket from his bed and put it around the woman, and then took the blanket from Naruto's bed and put it around him while shaking his head. You really want to catch a cold? He told both of them. And then he looked at the woman. You especially. You were out there for more than half an hour. The woman shrugged. So what? It's not like I can get sick that easy. How are you so sure? Asked the druid. I'm not shivering or sneezing. She put it bluntly. Zagok looked at her before he lay back on the bed, looking at the ceiling. Silverneer nudged Naruto and motioned to the druid. Naruto understood the message. Hey, Zagok, said the blonde boy. Yes, answered the druid. Do you think I could get one of those cool enchanted weapons? He asked. Zagok raised an eyebrow and rose up. He looked at the boy who was grinning. He then looked at the woman companion, expecting some explanation. She smiled at him with one of those smiles that made the druid realize he was going to lose a lot of money really soon. You know the captain of the ship? She asked innocently. Zagok put his hand under his chin and nodded. Yes, I know him. Why? Well, Naruto over here saw his sword and was intrigued by it. Zagok looked at Naruto, who nodded like a child. And that is why he asked me that? Yes, he wants an enchanted weapon, and I know you have the money for it, said Silverneer. Zagok paled. My money? He asked, scared. The woman nodded, smiling. I don't have enough. I wasn't paid that much back in Astronar. But, I was planning on buying something with the money I have, said the druid with a trembling voice. Silverneer frowned. What were you going to buy, one of those drakes? What's wrong with them? He asked. For starters, they are too big. Second, they eat too much. Third, you are a druid. Therefore, you can shift into a bird. Zagok sighed. I guess you're right. So will you buy the boy a sword? Asked Silverneer. A sword? Asked Naruto. Why a sword? Well, to put it like this, I will be able to teach you how to use it since I fight with a sword. responded the woman. Zagak nodded. And I think a dagger would also be good for him, and we need to find him a rogue teacher. Why? Asked Sylvania and Naruto. Simply put, Naruto is like a rogue, but not entirely, responded the druid. What do you mean, not entirely? Asked the woman. I mean he was able to learn my entangling roots, which if you remember only night elf druids or tauren druids can learn. Explained the druid, bringing confusion to Naruto and Sylvania. What is a tauren? Asked Naruto. How the hell did he learn that? Asked Sylvania. Zagak shook his head. Naruto, you will learn later what a tauren is and how he learned. It made me realize he also has mana and he is also something else. I'm afraid to ask what else, said the woman. Bluntly put, he is a combination between rogue, mage, and druid, said Zagak, smiling. Sylvania's mouth was hanging open, and Naruto was again puzzled. What is a mage? And what does it mean that I am a combination of those three? Well, a mage is someone that can cast fire, frost, and arcane spells, explained Zagak, and you are a rogue because you are swift and cunning like him. You can easily disappear and you are fast. You are like a mage because of what you told me you can do. And you are a druid, or a soon-to-be druid, because I am going to teach you. I will even try to figure out a way to make you shapeshift like me. Naruto was gaping. You will do that for me? He asked, not believing the druid nodded. And I will also make sure you get a dagger and a sword. He said, grinning. Teldrassil, Port Naruto. Zagak and Sylvania stepped out of the boat. They had just reached the island's port. They were currently standing on the docks. As they started moving, Naruto would look with amazement left and right. Naruto looked in front of them and saw a few buildings that looked to be small fishing houses, or 1 or 2 houses that accommodated the guards. He was now confused. Except for those buildings, there was nothing more. Well, there was something more except those. There was a strange tree, so tall that it would put Kyuubi to shame. What was even stranger than the height of the tree was the fact that its roots looked like they were outside of the ground and they seemed to create a pink color, and the road was leading towards it. Naruto was about to ask what was with the tree and the light when they walked through it. Naruto looked as his 2 companions disappear and blinked. He blinked again, trying to figure out what had happened. His stare didn't go unnoticed by the 2 guards that were guarding the entrance in the light. Boy, are you all right? Asked the male guard, waving his hand to Naruto. Naruto blinked and looked at the waving guard. What just happened? He asked, pointing to the light. The second guard smiled and answered. I think you are for the first time here, right? She asked. Naruto nodded dumbly. What happened to my companions? What is that light? The light is a form of teleportation, explained the first guard. It teleports you up on the mountain in the capital. You didn't expect us to build stairs now, did you? He asked, chuckling. It was then that Naruto looked behind the tree and round him and saw that to his left and right and in front of him were a huge wall. The capital was on top of the mountain. It was bigger than the Hokage monument. He looked behind and saw the port and the ocean. He looked back at the light and walked to it uncertain. Don't be afraid, said the female guard, giggling. It won't hurt, she reassured him. Maybe it will tingle a little, but not hurt, said the male guard. Naruto nodded and walked more confidently in the light. He blinked and he looked in front of him. His eyes widened. No longer was the tall, rocky wall in front of him. Now he was looking upon a city. There were many houses like he had seen in Astrana. In the middle of the city he saw another large tree surrounded by water. There were bridges over the water. To the left of the tree he saw a long white building that had 2 towers on each side of the bridge that came from the small island on which the tree was. To the right of the tree he saw even more trees, not that big. They were smaller and it looked like the elves had built houses in the trees. Beyond the tree in the center of the city was what looked to be a wall. The wall wasn't long like the one in Konoha, and it wasn't around the city. The city was surrounded by a mountain, or it was the same mountain, and the city was in a part of his crater. Naruto was not sure about that. When he looked for his companions, he only saw Zagak, who was smiling at Naruto. The blonde boy walked to the druid, who patted him on the shoulder. Took you long enough, he said, chuckling. Hey, you should have told me that the light was a teleporter, snapped Naruto angrily. Zagak nodded. True. Hey, I just remembered something, said Naruto. Where are the 2 cats? You mean Nightwalker and Grace, Sylvania's cat? Asked the druid. Naruto nodded. Yeah, those 2, they are still in the ship. he replied. They are going to bring them up here in a few minutes. From here, a guard will take them to the stables. Aren't you afraid they might steal them? Asked Naruto the druid, shook his head. They know how to take care of themselves. Trust me. Naruto nodded and looked around a little more. Zagak nudged the boy and told him to follow. Naruto did as he was told and followed Zagak on the bridge towards the big tree. As they were walking, Naruto saw other people except night elves. He saw to his delight human forms. They were either wearing robes or armor that covered their entire body. Some had staves, while others had swords or hammers or any other weapons. Naruto then saw two strange people. They were smaller than him. They looked like 12 or 13-year-old kids, but they had long bears and some kind of metal sticks in their hands that had a large hold. The sticks were long, about half or a meter long. They were holding them from a metal or wooden piece that came down from one of the ends of the stick. But Naruto couldn't quite call them sticks. They were much denser than a stick, and on the other end of them there was a hole about 10 to 20 centimeters long. As the two small creatures passed Naruto and Zagak, he heard them talk. It was a little hard to understand them. "Aye, mate, that be the problem," said one of them that had a brown bear. "Ol' Shinna never did have I ood understanding of the grounds," said the second one. Naruto was puzzled what they were. He was even more puzzled when an even smaller creature that reached up to his waist walked by with a strange red thing that had a wire at one end. The small mad thought, maybe if I would take a shorter wire and add more powder, I could make more powerful dynamites. After the man was out of earshot, the druid chuckled at Naruto's expression. "The first two you saw are called dwarfs. The short guy is a gnome," said Naruto. Naruto nodded, still looking behind him at the retreating gnome. He turned around and saw a night elf woman on a black cat, as large as the druids. The woman looked at Naruto and then turned her attention back to the road. The cat was walking slowly. It looked like the woman was a guard and she was patrolling the area. She also wore the same armor the guards from Astronar did. Naruto turned to look for his companion and saw him crossing another bridge, heading towards the right side of the middle tree where the smaller one are Sunagakure-Gyara, now new appointed. Kazekage was looking out the window. He was in deep thought. Just a few days ago, he had received a message from the Hokage of Konohagure no Sato regarding Naruto. He found out that the blonde Jinchuriki was attacked by someone, possibly Akatsuki, and disappeared without a trace. Gaara scowled. He didn't like what happened, not one bit. Naruto was his first friend, the first one to show him the true meaning of life and what having friends and people to care for meant. Because of that, he managed to gain the position of Kazekage and gain the trust of everyone in Suna. Now, Gaara's siblings were no longer afraid of him. Since he had opened up to them, they started acting more sibling-like, giving Gaara the love he also never had, sibling love. Gaara and his siblings owed a lot of deal to Naruto. Because of him, they managed to become the family they couldn't have become before Gaara heard someone open the door and looked behind him. A girl around his age entered the room. She had brown hair and black eyes, and her headband tied around her neck. She smiled at Gaara, and the boy nodded in response. The girl frowned. "Gaara-kun, he is safe, trust me," she said as she walked up to Gaara. "I don't know that for sure, Matsuri-chan." He responded, looking out the window again. Matsuri put her hand on his shoulder. "From all the stories you had told me about him, he looks like the kind of boy that doesn't go down that easy." Gaara nodded. "He is powerful, but I can't shake the feeling that he is somewhere with people more powerful than him." Matsuri put her head on his shoulder and closed her eyes. "You told me that he defeated you when you let out Shukaku, which says something." Gaara closed his eyes and sighed. "I just hope he is all right. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be together now." Matsuri giggled and kissed the boy's cheek. "Did you send someone to Konoha?" "Yes, I sent Temari and 4 ninja to help in finding Naruto," responded. Gaara nodded. "Then you don't have to be worried. They will find a trace soon," she reassured Gaara, taking his arm. Gaara freed his hand and kissed her on her head and put his arm around her waist. "Naruto, wherever you are, thank you," thought Gaara with Naruto. The blonde boy was now standing in front of a strange elf. He had green hair like the grass and his eyes were glowing blue. He had a short bear, also green, and a robe with designs of leaves on it. On his head was a band, and attached to the band were a few branches with leaves on them. Zagak was standing next to this strange elf. "So what do you want to tell me about the boy?" asked the elf archdruid. Naruto over here has a spirit trapped in him, said Zagok, bowing. Naruto's eyes narrowed. You said you wouldn't tell anyone. Calm down, young one, the archdruid can help you, reassured Zagok. We are here to help. I swear on my blood. Naruto's panic seemed to disappear slowly. The elderly-looking druid walked over to Naruto and looked at the boy. He brought 2 fingers to his forehead and closed his eyes. After a few seconds, the druid found himself in what looked like one of the sewers in Stormwind, human capital city. He started walking around till he reached a strange cage that had a piece of paper on it with the name Seal on it. He then felt movement in the cage and backed away a little, and waited. Soon enough, a big fox with 9 tails swinging behind it was standing behind the bars. The fox looked at the old druid and sneered. And what are you supposed to be? The fox asked rudely. The druid bowed to the fox. I am Archdruid Fandral Staghelm from the Night Elf capital city Darnassus. QB laughed in amusement. A druid? The brat sends a druid? QB looked at the elf and sneered. What do you intend to do, mortal? The fox grinned evilly. I am here to see you, great spirit, responded the druid. Oh, I am flattered. Do go on, mocked QB, trying to get to the druid's anger. It seems that you are restless. Great spirit, I wanted to free you. QB narrowed his eyes. You will rip this seal of this instance, pesky mortal, and free me. That is the order of QB no Kitsune. I'm afraid I cannot do that, as I might kill the boy, said the druid, shaking his head. I don't care about the boy. Roared QB. I want you to free me so I can continue my carnage. The druid looked at the fox. You are still under the influence of some sort of curse in your own anger. We need to calm you down to get to the real you. QB laughed again. Me? The great QB no Kitsune under a curse? He asked, laughing. I assure you, mortal, I am the fox. He said, now free me, demanded QB. The druid started to fade away. I cannot do that. You come back here, mortal, roared the fox. Free me this instance. I order you. But it was too late. The druid disappeared. In the real world, the archdruid opened his eyes and moved back near Zagok. Naruto was looking with interest at what he did. He could hear QB roaring in his cage and demanding freedom so he could kill the old bastard as he named the druid. Naruto mentally rolled his eyes and tried to lock QB's voice away, but he found that it didn't work. He scowled. What have you found, Great One? Asked Zagok. It seems the boy has an ancient fox sealed inside him. Responded the archdruid. Zagok nodded. He already knew that. But I know what you want to ask. The spirit is restless, and it seems that it's under a curse or something. I see. So what are we going to do? Asked Zagok. We will send him to cleanse himself, responded the elderly druid. Cleanse myself? Asked Naruto. Yes, boy, if you would follow me. The elderly druid said, walking out the door and down the stairs. Naruto and Zagok followed closely. The archdruid's house was on top of a tree. The stairs were a spiral that went along the trunk of the tree. When they were at the bottom of the tree, they walked behind it, following a stone-paved road to what seemed a garden. Arriving at their destination, Naruto looked around him. True, there were flowers everywhere, but what was in front of him made him curious. In front of the group was a strange building. It looked like a stone pool, and it looked like it had water inside. But the water was a much brighter blue, and it seemed like blue lines stretched out from the pool into the sky, disappearing. Naruto looked at the 2 druids waiting some answers. This little one is a moon well, said the elderly druid. This particular one has the power to calm the mind and release curses. And how does it work? Asked Naruto. And who else uses this? Well, only night elves are allowed due to some things that had happened in the past. Mostly only druids and priests use them, responded Zagok. As for how to use it, you need to step in the well and walk in the middle. Then sit in a meditative position and relax. The effect won't be spontaneous, but they will be, said the elderly druid. Smiling, Naruto nodded and stepped in the pool. It was a strange feeling. He could feel the water around his feet, but he didn't get wet. The water reached up to his knees. Naruto walked in the middle of the well and sat down in the lotus position and closed his eyes, relaxing. He could feel something, like energy entering his body and traveling through his system. In the meantime, Zagok was talking to the archdruid. Their discussion was about Naruto. The druid told the elder that he was going to help Naruto in his travels to find a way home. It is a good cause. said the elder. Yes, and it feels good to help someone, replied the younger druid. And do tell me, what class is the boy? Asked the archdruid. Zagak frowned. Believe it or not, the boy is a combination of rogue, mage, and druid. The archdruid choked on his spit. Impossible. He said it's not. He is agile and cunning like a rogue. He can use magic like a mage, and he managed to learn my entangling roots. Said Zagak. The archdruid looked at Naruto and studied him intensively. He then turned back to Zagak and shook his head. There must be something in the middle. Zagak raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? He can't be all three. There must be something about him, said the archdruid. Thinking Zagak frowned, he knew what was about the boy, but he promised he wouldn't say anything, and he was a man of word. He played dumb, and it seemed like it was working, so far at least. The archdruid, still thinking, turned around and started walking away. Zagak sat on the ground and waited for Naruto to be done. Back at Naruto, the boy was currently feeling relaxed like never before. He was enjoying the feeling that was passing through his body. He felt like after a good long sleep and a good massage. Naruto subconsciously opened his eyes and saw he was in the sewer again. He frowned. He didn't want to talk to the fox now. He started walking towards the chamber that had the cage. On the way, he looked at the walls. They were glowing a faint blue color. The pipes were glowing blue, and the liquid inside seemed to move much faster. When he reached the chamber that held Kyuubi's cage, he felt like something was strange. He looked at the cage and saw the fox looking around the room from behind the bars with interest. What was strange was that Kyuubi was quiet. Why am I here? Asked Kyuubi, looking around. His voice held curiosity. Naruto carefully approached Kyuubi. The fox sensed him and looked around. Not seeing anything at his level, he looked down to see a small blonde boy, small in his opinion since he was much bigger. But the boy was the average teenager. Who are you? Asked Kyuubi, curious. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What do you mean, who am I? The boy asked. Is this some kind of joke? Now it was Kyuubi's turn to raise an eyebrow. What joke, boy? I just woke up and I am behind bars. Why is that? What do you mean, why is that? You were sealed here. So that means that you are my jailer, deducted Kyuubi, lowering his head at Naruto's level. Looking over him, Naruto scowled. This really is a joke. What do you want? To be free. Well, that would be an idea, but first I want to know why I am here, the Kyuubi asked sincerely. Now, Naruto didn't understand anything. Kyuubi was more violent. He didn't act like this. Don't you remember anything? Asked Naruto. Kyuubi shook his head. All I remember is that I was sleeping in my den, then a bright green flash, and then I remember waking up here. Naruto put his hand under his chin to think. Kyuubi, in the meantime, was studying him. After a long moment of silence, Kyuubi talked again. Do tell me, how long was I imprisoned in you? 15 years. Responded Naruto bluntly, making Kyuubi's eyes widen. What the hell did I do? He roared. Naruto jumped back and glared at the fox. I knew it, you were faking everything, he said, pointing to Kyuubi. The fox looked at the boy again. What do you mean? I wasn't faking anything. Why am I locked inside of you? Kyuubi demanded. This is some kind of trick of yours to escape, isn't it? Asked Naruto angrily. The fox looked shocked for a second. But if I try to get out, you will die, Naruto snorted. Like I didn't know you want out so you can finish your job on Konoha? Well, it won't happen. Yelled Naruto. Konoha? Asked Kyuubi. What job? Naruto turned around and started walking away. I'm not falling for it. You made my life miserable. I won't stay to play your stupid games. And with that, he faded away. Kyuubi looked around again when he found a way to get answers. If he won't tell me what I did, then I will look in his memories. Naruto opened his eyes again and found himself in the pool. He sat up and walked out of pool. He looked around trying to find his companion and the elder. He saw Zagak sitting on a bench looking at the sky. Naruto walked up to Zagak and sat next to him. The druid smiled underneath his mask. How do you feel? Asked the druid. Good and more relaxed. Responded Naruto. Zagak nodded. And did the curse lift from the fox? Naruto frowned. I don't know, he is acting strange. Maybe it's a trick. Zagak shrugged and sat up. Follow me. The High Priestess summoned me for a mission. A mission? Asked Naruto, jumping up. What mission will it be? Can I come with you? Zagak chuckled. Whatever mission it will be, you can come with me. With Sylvania entered a small house. It had only a bedroom, a kitchen, a living room, and a bathroom. She looked around the house looking for someone. She looked on the table near her and saw a drawing. She smiled. It was a drawing of her. Her little sister did it to her before she left to Astrona. "Who are you?" asked a voice behind her. Sylvania turned around and saw a young night elf girl, around Naruto's age, with cayenne hair that reached down to her waist and green eyes. The young girl gasped when she looked at the stranger's face. "Sister?" she asked. Uncertain Sylvania smiled warmly and nodded. Before she could react, she was caught by her younger sister in an embrace. "Hey, Saya," said the woman. "How come you're here?" Saya asked, "I thought you were forever stuck in Astrona." "I got a visit from my last friend, alive or not missing," said Sylvania. The young girl pulled away and looked at her sister with teary eyes. "Who visited you?" "It was Zagok," Sylvania said, wiping her sister's tears away. "He was coming here with his new apprentice and I tagged along since I want to be close to him." "I don't want to lose my last friend," Saya nodded. "And who is his new apprentice?" "A young human boy, 15 years old," responded Sylvania, giggling. Just then, a panther entered through the door. The panther reached up to the woman's knees. The panther growled at Sylvania and got ready to attack. "Seven!" exclaimed Saya. "Don't be rude to my sister." The panther stopped growling and lowered his head, meaning he was apologizing. He walked up to Sylvania and licked her hand, and as a reward he was patted by his master, Dot. Sylvania smiled. "So I see you finished your trainings and you have a companion," Saya nodded. "After I finished my teachings, I found Seven in the woods injured. I healed him and tamed him and he became my partner." "It's good to know. And what else have you been up to?" asked Sylvania. "Not much. I was just recruited by the Alliance," responded the young girl. Sylvania gasped at the news. "You were recruited?" Saya nodded sadly. "They need fighters. They are preparing if the Horde will attack." "And did you receive any missions or anything?" The girl nodded. "In 2 days, I need to leave for Menethil Harbor in Eastern Kingdoms." Sylvania embraced her sister again. "You are too young for war. I can't believe they are already sending you in," she said sadly. "I know," responded Saya. Then something in her mind clicked. "Hey, Sylvania, since you are here, won't you come with me?" she asked her sister. The woman looked at the girl with sad eyes. "I don't know. I need to talk to Zagok. I said I would follow him since he is my last friend alive to protect him." Saya nodded sadly. "Do you want to go and look for him?" she asked. Sylvania thought for a second before nodding happily. The two walked out the door, followed by the panther. Dash, with Naruto. Naruto was now in the big white building on the left side of the large tree in the city. The building had 2 floors connected by spiraling stairs that went along the wall. The building was also long and there was a lot of space. Inside the building in the middle was another moon. Well behind the well was the statue of a night elf female holding something in her hands above her head and looking up to the sky. Zagok had explained that the statue represents Elune. But back to the interior of the building, around the moon well there was vegetation growing, grass that was cut by hand and flowers. Some looked like someone had planted them, while others seemed to have grown there naturally. They heard some footsteps and they turned their attention to the stairs. Coming down the stairs was a female elf with a long white robe. She had what looked like a Fuma shuriken strapped to her back, and on her head was grey metal plate. She had dark cyan hair that reached to her shoulders and light blue eyes. Walking next to her was a human girl that looked around Naruto's age. When Naruto looked at her, he started choking on his own spit. The girl was very cute, in his opinion. Her face held innocence and love. She had long silver hair that reached down to her breasts. Her eyes were green and her face looked angelic. Around her neck there was a necklace with a blue diamond in the middle. She wore a white dress. Naruto started gaping at her while Zagok bowed politely. He then turned to see Naruto, who was just stunned. He didn't want to do it, but the boy had to show respect. He hit him on the head, and Naruto fell flat on his face. The human girl giggled at the sight. Naruto got back on his feet and bowed as well, and then scowled at Zagok, who just smiled at his companion. "It's good to see you are in Darnassus, Zagok," said the night elf. "It's good to be home," responded the druid. "I heard you have a mission for me, Priestess Tyrande." "Yes, I do. This girl over here," said Tyrande, pointing to the human girl, "just finished her 1-year training under my tutelage. She has to return to Stormwind and her guards have requested more help since the orcs and undead have been moving strangely." Zagok nodded. "I guess I can act as a bodyguard, but I have 2 requests." He said, "Anything druid?" said the girl in a sweet voice, making Naruto miss a heartbeat. Firstly, I request that my two companions, Naruto, he said, pointing to the blonde, and a friend of mine who is somewhere here in Darnassus also come with me. Certainly they can come, said the girl, smiling. And what is your second request, may I ask? If it is possible to leave in 2 days, I am still recovering from a long trip and a fight with 3 undead, said Zagak. The girl nodded. We can wait 2 days. She looked at Naruto. I know his name, but I don't know yours. Naruto blinked. Oh, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. And 2, said Naruto, grinning. My name is Phineas Rin, future ruler of Stormwind. She said, shaking Naruto's hand. 3. It's nice to meet you, Phineas, said Naruto, grinning. The girl giggled at Naruto before she looked at the druid. I suggest you will go and talk to the captain of the escorts as well. I will do that, said Zagak, nodding. But tell me where I can find them. They are in one of the buildings in the port, said Tyrande. Zagak nodded. I will do that a bit later. Right now I need to do something. I understand. We will meet again in 2 days, said the girl, smiling. Zagak nodded and turned to leave. Naruto looked at the druid, wanting to know what was next of the program. The druid smiled at Naruto and motioned to him to open his palm. Naruto did as he was told, and the elf put 10 gold circlets in his hand. I gave you 10 gold. Buy whatever you want, said the druid, leaving. But where should we meet? Yelled Naruto. Don't worry, I will find you, the druid said, disappearing. Naruto sighed. He didn't know how the druid will find him. But more, he didn't know where he should go right now. He started walking aimlessly. After walking for some time, his stomach growled. He looked around trying to find a place to eat and saw a building that looked similar to the restaurant in Astrana. Naruto shrugged and walked inside. It was bigger than the other restaurant, and there were some people, elfies, humans, dwarves, and even gnomes. Naruto found the gnomes to be funny, the way they talked, the way they acted. Everything. Naruto looked around and saw a seat free at the bar. He walked to the bar and sat in the free seat and looked to his sides. There were mostly elves and humans at the bar. The man next to him intrigued him. He wore a black armor that seemed to be made out of leather. There were 2 chains attached to the armor, and they came down from the shoulder to his waist. On his head was a black and red cowl and a black mask. He could barely see his face. Heck, even his eyes were barely visible. He had black pants to match the armor. The pants had a lot of pockets, which intrigued the boy. And finally, the man had black gloves that had spikes in the knuckles and black shoes. Attached to the man's waist were 2 short swords, one on the left side and one on the right side. They were longer than a kunai, but much shorter than a katana or a sword. Naruto considered the weapon to be a dagger or something. More importantly, the weapon was glowing a flaming red color that seemed to radiate heat. The other one was glowing green, but not like the one which the captain on the ship had, and this one had a faint green glow. The man was drinking what seemed to be beverage. Beer, in other words. Can I help you? Asked someone. Naruto looked in front of him and saw a female elf with a red dress. She had blue eyes and grey hair. Do you have anything to eat? Asked Naruto. Sure we do. What would you like? She asked politely. Do you have anything with noodles? The boy asked. He wanted to ask about ramen, but he wasn't sure they had something like that. Even here, Naruto smiled when he saw the woman nodding. We have. What do you have? Well, we have chicken noodles, deer noodles, spider noodles, and kodo noodles, the woman responded. Naruto thought for a second. He was curious how the spider one was, but he decided against it. I will have the chicken ones. The woman nodded and left. Naruto looked again at the man next to him and saw he was looking on a strange map. He couldn't understand what the map showed. What he understood to be the ground, it looked to be ripped apart, shattered. It looked like there was a piece of land there and another piece of land there, but what was strange is that they weren't separated by water, which should have been drawn in blue, but by something drawn in a black color. Naruto felt the woman returning and turned around. She placed a bowl of soup in front of the boy and smiled. That would be 50 Cooper. She said. Naruto took a gold piece from his pocket and handed the woman. Hoping it was right, the woman took a small bag from her pocket and took out silver coins and some brown-looking coins that Naruto realized they were Cooper. She handed him 99 silver coins and 50 Cooper pieces. Naruto thanked her and started eating. This time, he didn't eat like he would eat ramen. He didn't want to raise any suspicions on his table manners, and he also wanted to study the strange man next to him. More. Naruto enjoyed his bowl of chicken noodles. Indeed, it had noodles in it and pieces of meat and had some vegetables as well. Naruto at first frowned at this, but then he realized that the vegetables weren't all that bad, so he ate them happily. When he was done, he just leaned back a little and continued to look around. What caught Naruto's eyes was a well-built man in a shiny armor and a large axe on his back. It wasn't the fact that the man was big and well-built or anything like that, it was the fact that he was picking on a waiter that was a young woman. Somehow, Naruto didn't quite like the fact that a man would behave bad to a woman. He sat up and started walking to the man. The man looked to be around the age of 30. When he got there, the man was trying to grope the woman. "Hey," said Naruto, getting not only his attention but everyone else's in the restaurant. "What do you want, brat?" The man asked rudely, "What is wrong with you?" asked Naruto angrily. "Leave her alone." The man raised an eyebrow and became furious. "Get out of here, brat, before I hurt you," Naruto sneered. "Like you could." The man sat up, throwing his chair away, and threw a punch to Naruto, who dodged it with ease. He grabbed the man's arm and threw him over his shoulder into the wall. The man was indeed heavy in Naruto's opinion, but maybe that was because of the armor and the large axe. The man shook his head and got back on his feet and took his axe in his hand. He walked up to Naruto dangerously, wanting to hit him. When he was about to raise his axe, someone grabbed his arm and he felt a cold blade at his neck. His eyes turned too, looked behind him. He saw a strange man completely covered in a red armor, except the cowl that seemed to be a blackened red. "It would be wrong to hit a child," said the newcomer in a cold voice. Naruto's eyes were wide open. He didn't even sense the guy move. A few minutes ago, he was at the bar drinking, and now he was holding his red blade at the axe wielder's throat. "Besides," said the man again, "the boy is right. Stop harassing young ladies," he warned, pressing his blade closer to the axe wielder's neck. The axe wielder started feeling the heat coming from the blade and started sweating. The black armored man backed away fast and kicked the axe wielder in the back, making him hit the table in front of him with his face. The axe wielder got up and growled at the newcomer before walking out the restaurant. He knew he couldn't defeat the newcomer, so he left. The black armored man sheated his blade at his waist again and walked up to Naruto. The blonde boy tensed for a second. When the man was near Naruto, everyone in the restaurant held their breath. The man studied Naruto and then patted him on the shoulder. He turned around and started leaving. "You are interesting. Meet me outside," he said before walking out the door. Everyone started breathing normally again. Naruto was curious why everyone tensed when the man approached him. The woman Naruto had protected walked up to him. "Thank you," she said. Naruto, who was still looking at the door, blinked and then turned to look at the young woman. "It's all right," he said. "Is there any way I can repay you?" She asked. Naruto shook his head. "There is no need." He smiled at her. "It was my pleasure to help someone." The woman smiled and hugged the boy. "You are always welcome here," she said, letting him go and going back to work. Naruto grinned and looked back at the door. He started walking towards the door. When he was outside, he looked left and right, but he couldn't see the strange person. Just then, he felt someone behind him. He spun around and saw the man behind him. Naruto tensed for an unknown reason. "You intrigue me, boy," the man said with no emotion visible. "When you studied my map, it took me some time to realize it was you. You are very cunning, boy." "You knew?" asked Naruto, surprised. "I am an expert in stealing and stealth, but it did take me some time to realize you were looking at me." The man responded again with no emotion. Naruto gulped. "And why did you say you find me interesting?" he asked. "Tell me, boy." The man said, "Are you by any chance a rogue?" He asked. Naruto was quiet for a second before answering. "My companion says that I am." The man nodded. "You seem to have the skills of a rogue, but you miss something." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "What would that be?" "Your clothes are not adequate for a rogue. You need to hide yourself," the man said, turning around. "Follow me and I will show you what you need." Naruto watched as the man was walking down the street. He didn't know why, but he started following the man. As he was walking behind him, he studied the man even further. The blades intrigued Naruto the most. He could feel the power coming from them. He could feel the energy. It was fascinating and breathtaking. The man, for his part, studied Naruto with the corner of his eyes. He could feel great power coming from the boy, a power that most rogues had. He wondered what skills the boy possessed and who had taught him. He could feel that the boy had been trained for years, but he could still feel that there were places where he was missing in his training. As much as he wanted to train the boy, he couldn't. He had more important things to do and subconsciously grabbed the map in his pocket. After walking for several minutes, they entered a leatherworking shop. The owner was a human. He looked to be around the age of 40. Naruto looked around the shop and saw a lot of jackets and armors. He saw cowls and gloves and boots. Every piece of armor was either dark or a black red with green or even a dark blue with grey. There were also different coloured bags, pouches that had arrows in them, and some other things that Naruto didn't know what they were but didn't seem to important. The owner looked at the newcomer and smiled. "Welcome to Julian's leatherworking shop. How can I be of help?" he asked kindly. "The boy over here is a rogue. He needs a armor made for him," said the strange man. The owner of the shop nodded and asked, "What did you have in mind? What can you make?" asked the man. "Anything, from the simplest pieces of leather to the most important." The shop owner responded, smiling. "First I want a black mask, then I want you to make the nightscape shoulder guards and chest piece. I want the shadow skin gloves and a pair of dusky boots." The man said, "Here is the money. It would be good for them to be ready till tomorrow," said the man, putting a sack filled with coins on the counter. The shopkeeper opened the sack a little and looked at the money. He nodded. "Who will come to pick the armor up?" "The armor is for the boy. He will come tomorrow," said the man. The shopkeeper nodded. The strange man walked out the door and Naruto followed. The man turned to Naruto and looked at him dead in the eyes. Now Naruto saw the man's eyes were black. They seemed to promise pain to anyone that crossed his path. "Now, boy, when we will meet again, I want to see the boy I imagined you to be, a great rogue," he said to Naruto, turning around to leave. "Wait, but what's your name?" asked Naruto. "Why did you buy me all that?" "I bought that because you intrigue me, and my name," the man said, pausing. "All you need to know is my nickname, Razor." And with that, the man just vanished from sight and Naruto couldn't feel him anymore. Naruto frowned. Ever since he had gotten in this world, he saw only strange things. He didn't even know what was strange now, the fact that the dead are alive in this world, or that he keeps meeting strange people. The man with the scythe he and Zagark had met before taking the boat to Darnassus was even stranger. The druid told Naruto that he doesn't need to worry about anything regarding the strange man, but Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that the man wanted them to know something that could endanger everything and everyone, with Zagark. The druid was currently in an auction house looking over the prices of a dagger and a sword. He frowned as he realized that he would have to buy the weapons for the boy. They were perfect for a rogue. They could be wielded easily. The auctioneer was looking at the druid with a smile. The smile which told everyone that he just found a buyer. And he was right. Zagark was counting the money while sighing. The druid didn't want to lose his money, but it was for a good cause, he thought. "So, did you find what you need?" The auctioneer asked. "Do you have the Ziggler and the Black Knight here?" asked Zagark. "Those two," said the auctioneer. "It is strange no one bought them yet, but we do have them." He said he opened a box and took out a long sword, as long as a katana, but unlike the katana, this sword wasn't curved at all. The handle of the sword ended with a design of claws. The blade looked like any other blade, if you cut the fact that it had a faint black glow on it. After the sword, the auctioneer took out another item that looked like a small knife. It was bigger than a kunai with a few centimeters. The handle started with a diamond shape and ended with a bat-like shape. The blade started like any other blade, but it had two pointy shapes on each side near the handle, two on each side, both blades from the weapons, were sharp. Zagark studied the weapons and nodded. "How much?" he asked. "That would be a total of 80 gold, said the auctioneer, grinning. Zagark shuddered for a second before he paid the auctioneer the money. He then took the two weapons and left the auction house. "I hope he will be happy with them. I just lost 80 gold on them," he thought, shuddering. Chapter 4. Ship's Assassin. A new day came for Naruto. Currently, he was at the Moon Well in Darnassus with other druids meditating. Zagark had to leave for some business. He didn't say what, so he left Naruto to do what he wants. The boy wanted only one thing, to learn some more druid spells. When he asked other druids for help, they told him to meditate first and then start . So here he was, mediating with 5 more druids. They said they will teach him how to shape-shift into an animal. But for that, he needed to meditate. He needed to clear his mind of other things because shape-shifting was a dangerous magic if the user wasn't calm and concentrated. Naruto listened to everything around him. Birds singing, people walking, the wind blowing. He could even hear the trees giving a certain sound of peace and tranquility. He could also hear the spirits singing while meditating. The druids told him that there are spirits in Darnassus that protect the city, they usually being called wisps and could be seen as blue glowing orbs. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around. Slowly the druids opened their eyes and nodded to each other. They turned to Naruto and motioned for him to follow them. Naruto stood up and followed the druid where they were talking him. He followed them on another stone path, and he reached a small garden. The druids turned to him. "Now that you have your mind clear, we can start," said a druid. Naruto nodded. "What am I supposed to do?" he asked. "First you need to imagine the animal you wish to turn into. Usually these animals are bears, panthers, cheetah, seals, and crows," said another druid. "Now watch closely, this is the bear shapeshift," said the first druid. Naruto looked closely. The druid closed his eyes and green lines started to surround him. Then the druid's body started to change. It became more massive and he grew claws and paws and dropped on them. His face shifted and resembled a bear's face. His ears were still long and on the left front paw the druid had the design of a bear's paw. The bear opened his eyes and looked at Naruto. "This is the bear form," he said in a powerful voice. Naruto nodded, and the druid turned back to his original form. He looked at the druid next to him, a woman. She smiled at him and opened her mouth to talk. "I will show you how to transform into a panther," she said. Naruto watched as the green lines appeared around the druid. She started to grow fur and her hands turned to paws. She grew a tail and whiskers. She dropped on all four and a white mark for a panther's paw appeared on her front left paw. She opened her eyes and looked at the boy. "Simple as that," she said. Naruto nodded. "All right, and what about the other?" he asked. "You need to ask Zagark for the crow shape shift since he is best suited. The cheetah form is like this," said another druid. He was then surrounded by green lines like the other two before him. He grew in tail and whiskers and even fur. The fur, unlike the druid before him, which was black, this one was yellow with black spots. His hands changed to paws and he dropped on them. Strangely, there was no design on the druid like with the other two. "And this is the cheetah," said the druid. "It's good for running fast and making quick getaways," said the druid, shifting back to his form. "And what are the other two good for?" asked Naruto. "The bear is good for brutal force and scaring your enemies," said the first druid. "And the panther is good for stealth and fast killing," said the female. Naruto nodded. "And if I want to change in other animals, can that be possible?" he asked. "It can, but no one ever tried in years because they seem to get stuck in them," said the druid that had changed in a tiger. "But I can try, right?" "On your own risk, but be warned if you get stuck in that form, you need to seek the Cenarian expedition in Outland to transform you back to your original form," explained the female. Naruto nodded and closed his eyes. He tried to imagine an animal he would want to shift. The image of an animal passed in his mind and stayed locked. Green lines appeared around him as he started to grow red fur, 9 red tails, his hands changed to paws and he dropped on them. He grew whiskers and 2 fox ears. When he opened his eyes and saw the shocked looks on the druids' faces. "What?" asked Naruto. "Did I do something wrong?" The female shook her head. "No, it's just that we never saw a druid shift in a fox, let alone one with 9 tails." Naruto's eyes widened and walked to a pond. True, he was a fox now. When he looked to see how tall he is, he realized he was reaching the druids. Waist. Naruto growled. "Damn fox, he must have something to do with this," he said. "What? I did nothing, you just thought of that form." I was quiet. "Now take your words back, Kit." The fox scowled. "What fox?" asked a druid. Naruto looked at the druid and gave a grin showing his canines. "Oh, nothing. It's something I came across in my travels." "Smooth," said QB sarcastically. The druids seemed to buy it and dropped the question, but they came with a new one. What kind of fox has 9 tails?" asked one druid. No idea," said Naruto. "It just passed through my head like that," he said. The druids nodded. "Well then, try to shift back to your original form. Hopefully you aren't stuck in this one." Naruto imagined himself as he used to be before he shifted, and in a puff of smoke he was replaced with his original form. The druids smiled. "Well, it seems you did it," said one of them. "From here on, all you need to do is be careful." said the female. Naruto nodded happily. Hey, can you teach me some spells? He asked. The druids looked between each other before they smiled and nodded. We will teach you Moonfire, said a druid. What does it do? Asked Naruto happily. The spell burns the enemy with arcane damage. It is called Moonfire because there is a dark blue light that drops from the sky on your target. Explained. The druid. Naruto nodded and listened to the instructions carefully and paid close attention to the examples he was given on training dummies. With Zagok. Zagok was in front of some big tent in Teldrassil's port. He talked to one of the guards, explaining his reason to be there, and the guard walked into the tent to call his superior. After waiting just a few seconds, the guard came out. A male with white helmet that covered his entire head. He had white plate armor on his chest. Over it was a tabard with the design of a lion's head. The tabard was blue, and the lion's head was gold in color. The guard had plate boots and leggings, both white, similar shoulder pads and gloves. Behind the guard, a man with black hair and black eyes came out. The man had similar armor as the guard, except the helmet, and had the same tabard as the guard. But strapped to his waist was a sword with a golden handle. On his back was a shield tower shield with blue lines on the border and a golden lion head in the middle. Zagok saluted the captain, and the captain returned the salute. Tell me, druid, what do you wish to tell me? He asked. I have been asked by Princess Phinia Rin to help in the escort. The druid said. The captain nodded. Yes, she said that she wants to be accompanied by a druid. Did she say why? Asked Zagok, interested. The captain shook his head. She just believes that a druid will be suited for this kind of mission due to your abilities. Ah, I understand, said Zagok. Also, anything I should know about the trip to Stormwind? Yes, said the captain. We are going to take a direct boat from here to Menethil. The sea trip will last at least 3 days. He explained. After that, we make our way to Ironforge, following the trade route, because it's the safest at the time. And Tuan, are you sure about that? Asked Zagok. Yes. There hasn't been an attack in over half a year. It is more than safe, said the captain. All we need to do is be careful when we pass through Dun Algaz. We have heard reports of Blackrock orc sightings. After we pass Don Algaz and we are in Loch Moden, we are safe, and the trip should go uneventful. Zagok nodded. All right, and we depart tomorrow? He asked. The captain shook his head. We depart in 6 hours. What? Yelled Zagok. But that doesn't give me enough time to prepare. I'm afraid we cannot help it. We need to leave before the storms at sea start again, explained the captain. Zagok sighed. All right then, I guess we leave in 6 hours. I will be here with my companions. He said. The captain nodded. The two saluted each other, and Zagok turned back to walk to the capital and find Naruto and Sylvania. An hour later, Zagok arrived at the very spot he left Naruto. He found him there panting on the ground. He walked up to him. What have you been up to? Asked Zagok. Naruto turned to him and grinned. The druids here taught me how to shapeshift and to use Moonfire, explained Naruto. And you know those? The druid asked, raising an eyebrow. Naruto nodded. Yeah, let me show you. He closed his eyes, and this time he disappeared in a puff of smoke. When the smoke cleared, Zagok looked down with wide eyes. Instead, on Naruto now stood a small fox with one tail. The fox had flaming red fur and a black tip on the end of its tail. The fox opened its eyes and looked at Zagok, grinning. So what do you think? It asked in a small voice. Zagok smiled under his mask. You are the first ever to shift in a fox. He said. The fox jumped up and down. Really? Yes, said Zagok. That is why I should give you a name. A name? Asked Naruto. Yes, I am also called Zagok Swiftmend, Windrunner. He explained. The fox raised an eyebrow. Swiftmend? He asked. Yes. You see, I am not a combat druid. I am a healing druid, and every time I healed someone that someone never died, it's because I am fast at healing, and I gained the nickname Swiftmend, explained Zagok. Cool, said Naruto. So what will my nickname be? Well, since your talent, unlike other druids, is to change to a fox, said Zagok, pondering. How about Byakko? Asked a voice in Naruto's head. Byakko? Yes, Byakko is a spirit fox. It would suit you. You have the spirit of a fox sealed inside you, and you can shift in a fox. Byakko. Explained Kyubi. I got a name, said Naruto. Oh, what did you think of? The druid asked. Byakko or spirit fox? Naruto said, grinning. Zagok nodded. Seems good, considering everything related to you. Then the druid looked at the sky and back at Naruto. By the way, we leave in 5 hours. The time changed. You mean the mission? Asked Naruto, and the druid nodded. Yes, I'm going to go and find Sylvanir. If you have some unfinished business here, I suggest you finish it fast and meet us at the port in 4.5 hours. Said Zagak. Naruto changed back in a puff of smoke to his human form and looked at Zagak. All right, you go ahead. I will meet you in the port. The druid nodded and took a small container out from his pocket. Naruto looked at the container. It had some sort of glyphs on it that were glowing. What is that? Asked Naruto. Item container. You can put up to 10 items inside of it, no matter the size. Said the druid. Naruto's eyes went wide. You mean you can put a mace inside? How does that work? He asked. Yes, any size, because these glyphs, he said, moving his hand in front of the glowing glyphs, make the items smaller while inside. To bring them out of the container, you call their name. And why are you showing it to me? Asked Naruto. Zagak grinned. I told you I will give you something. He put his hand on the container and said, Ziggler out, the Black Knight out, he said. The container started glowing purple, and then a long sword, as long as a katana whose blade was glowing black, appeared in front of Zagak. After it, a kunai of some sort, only a little longer, appeared next to the sword. The blade started like any other blade, but it had 2 pointy shapes on each side near the handle, 2 on each side. Naruto walked to the floating weapons and took them in his hands. Strangely, the weapons weren't heavy. Zagak took out 2 sheaths, one for the sword, which was going to be strapped on the boy's back, and a smaller one for the dagger, which was going to be strapped around Naruto's waist. Naruto sheathed the weapons and put them in the right positions. He felt energy moving through his body. He felt like he was getting stronger and more flexible. The druid smiled at the boy and patted him on the head. Hope you like them, he said, and then he turned around to leave. Naruto nodded absent-mindedly and silently thanks Jiraiya for taking his to a friend of his to teach Naruto kenjutsu. Naruto then remembered he had to pick up the clothes or armor that the guy Razor bought him yesterday. He started running through the capital trying to remember where the shop is. When he did, it only took him half an hour to reach it. When he walked inside, the man smiled at Naruto. So you're back? I have your armor ready, the shopkeeper said as he motioned to Naruto to follow him. Naruto did as he was told and walked in a room behind the counter. The man walked to a chest and took a key out. He opened the chest and stepped away. You can change here, he said as he walked out of the room. Naruto approached the chest and took an item out. He took out a black mask. The mask was made to cover his head except for his eyes. Naruto smirked and put the mask on. He looked in a window and liked what he saw. It made him look a little more dangerous. The next thing Naruto took out looked like a chest piece. It was made out of some sort of strong leather. The item was colored black with grey lines on its side, and it had green sleeves that reached to his wrist. Naruto took his sword and dagger off and put them near the chest. He took his jacket off and put the armor on. It seemed to fit him nicely and he felt more flexible. The next item he took out were shoulder pads. The shoulder pads were colored grey and ended with black tips. Naruto put them on his shoulder and secured them with a leather belt that came from under the pads. After that, he took out a pair of gloves. The gloves looked like they were made out of chains. The gloves were black, and on them there was the design of a white skull. The boy, not waiting, put them on his hands and tested them. They were flexible, which was good, and he seemed to be able to move his finger much more freely. The next item he took out were a pair of pants. They didn't look too much. They were black and seemed to have chains attached from the waist to the knees. The strange thing was that when he shook the pants, the chains didn't make any noise. Not waiting anymore, he took his own pants off and put the new ones on. They fitted perfectly. The last 2 items he grabbed from the chest were a belt and a pair of boots. The belt was of a normal design, colored black and had pockets. He strapped it around his waist to hold the pants and chest item. The boots were also black. He took his own boots off and put the new ones on and jumped on his feet. With this new armor, he seemed lighter, faster, and more agile. He couldn't explain why and didn't care that much. He took the sword and put it on his back. He took the dagger and strapped it back around his waist. The last thing he did before walking out the room was to take the shuriken and kunai holster of his old pants and strap them on his new one. After that, he took the old jacket and pants in his hands and walked out the room. The shopkeeper looked at Naruto and whistled. That man knew right. They suit you good. He said, thanks, responded Naruto. How do you feel? He asked, more agile. I don't know how, though. explained Naruto, studying his new clothes again. The man smiled. That is rogue armor. All rogue armors make you more agile. He then saw the clothes in Naruto's hands. If you want, I can take those clothes and give you some money for them. Naruto looked at the clothes in his hands and nodded. He handed them to the shopkeeper that inspected them, and then he took out a small bag. He took out 5 silver coins from it and gave them to Naruto. The blonde boy thanked the shopkeeper and left, or more like he ran out to test this new feeling. As he was running, he couldn't help but feel he was much faster, and he could much more easily. After running a little, he turned and ran to the restaurant he ate yesterday. As he walked inside, everyone turned and looked at him. Naruto could feel some were looking with respect, other with fear, and some were indifferent. He didn't know why some people were looking at him with fear, but he shrugged it and walked to the counter. He took a seat at one of the stools and put his hand at his face and lowered the bottom of the mask to reveal his mouth. Like Kakashi does when he eats, the same elf from yesterday came. When she first saw Naruto, she thought he was just another one of those rogues, and then she said the whisker marks and recognized the boy. She smiled at him and waited for the boy's order. Naruto placed the same order like yesterday, and the woman nodded happily and left to work on his order. Naruto used this time to look around and try to spot the man that bowed him the armor. He couldn't see him, not even the one that started trouble yesterday. He shrugged and turned his attention back to the woman he just came back with his order. Unknown to him, in one of the dark corners of the restaurant, the person he was looking for smirked when he saw Naruto. After finishing his meal, Naruto paid and left the restaurant, heading towards the port of Teldrassil. With Zagak. Zagak was walking through the city trying to find his female companion. He didn't know where her sister lived, so he hoped that she would just appear from around a corner. Luckily, his hopes came true, as he saw his companion crossing a bridge followed by another person that had cayenne hair, light blue. Zagak walked towards the two and greeted them. "Hello, Sylvania, who is this?" he asked. The woman smiled. "This is my sister Saya, and her companion Seven," Sylvania said as she pointed to the cayenne-haired girl and then at the panther. Zagak nodded and smiled at Saya. "It's nice to see you, a hunter, I presume?" The girl nodded. "And you are the druid Zagak that my sister talks about?" "That would be me," said Zagak, said Sylvania, getting his attention. "My sister has been recruited by the Alliance and she is leaving to Menethil Harbour." Zagak looked at the girl and nodded. "She can come with us. We are also going there." "Why is that?" asked the woman. "I have been assigned a mission to guard Princess Phinia Rin on her way back to Stormwind," explained the druid. "The princess is here?" asked Sylvania. "Yes, she came here a year ago to take lessons," answered Saya. "Yes, and I was assigned as a guard. You can also come, and the boy is already coming with us," said Zagak. "All right, then when do we leave?" asked Sylvania. "In 2 hours with a direct boat to Menethil Harbour," answered the druid. 2 hours? Asked the woman. "Yes, it seems that the captain of the royal escort doesn't want to be caught in a storm, so he moved the departure day forward," responded the druid. Well, I am all ready. The armor is already on me. I got everything I need here," said Saya. "What about our felines?" asked Sylvania. "Already handled that," said Zagak, giving Sylvania a container that had white markings on it and were glowing. "You know what that is, right?" The woman nodded. "Yes, it's one of those containers, but that doesn't explain where White Lightning is." "Your cat is in that container, resting," said the druid. "What?" yelled Sylvania. "Why did you put my cat in this container?" "Simple," explained the druid. "It helps, and it is easier. When you need White Lightning, you just put your hat on the container and say his name and he will pop in front of you." "I know how that works. I want to know why she is in this container." "Like I said, it saves time and space. We don't know if they allow thee on the boat, so this is a much more easy method," explained Zagak. "Also, my friend is inside one of them," he said, showing a similar container. "And don't be afraid I talked to them before putting them in, and they agreed." Sylvania frowned. "Very well, then shall we go?" "Yes, Naruto will be at the port when we arrive," said Zagak. "Who is Naruto?" asked Saya. "He is my companion. He tagged along with me from Winterspring," said Zagak. "He is very special." "Special?" she asked. "Yes, you see he has druid and mage powers, and he is a rogue." Zagak explained. "Wow," said the girl. "I never heard or saw anything like that." Zagak nodded. "Come on, let's go. We need to meet with the captain." Do you know how many escorts the princess has? Asked Sylvania. No, we are about to find out, I guess, said the druid, smiling. 2 hours later, Naruto just exited the portal and was now facing the sea. He looked to try and spot Zagark, and he saw someone that looked just like him standing in front of about 10 or 15 men that wore the same armor. Next to the said person was a woman that looked like Sylvania and another night elf girl with a bow on her back and 2 long swords strapped to her waist. Naruto assumed that he needed to go there. He started walking down the road. Good luck in your adventures, traveler, said a feminine voice. Naruto turned and saw one of the guards smiling at him. Naruto also gave a smile under his mask. His eyes turned to a U, letting people know he was smiling. Thank you, responded Naruto, and he dashed towards the docks. Naruto jumped on a building and looked on the docks. There was only one boat, much bigger than the one they used to get here. He saw the group of people walking towards the boat and recognized Zagark as being one of them. Naruto jumped and landed on the beginning of the docks and started running towards the group. Zagark sensed someone coming and turned around. He saw a boy with black mask and black armor running towards them. He tensed, thinking it was an assassin, but relaxed when he saw that the person was smiling at him with his eyes turned to a U. The druid gave his own smile and waved at him. Naruto stopped in front of the group and rubbed the back of his head. Sorry I'm late, he said. A man with black hair and black eyes walked up to Zagark and Naruto. Who are you? He asked, pointing to Naruto. The blonde boy turned and inspected the man. He assumed he must be the captain of the escort team. Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto, bowing. He is my last companion, said Zagark. The man raised an eyebrow. A rogue, is he skilled? He asked. The druid nodded. He is one of the best I have seen. The man nodded and turned around and walked towards the boat. A few minutes later, everyone was boarded. Naruto followed Zagark down to the sleeping quarters. The druid showed him where he will sleep during the trip and then showed him the cantina. On the way back to their room, the captain appeared again. I need one of you to guard the princess a few hours. He said. I'll do it. Offered Naruto. The captain nodded and motioned for Zagark and Naruto to follow him. A few minutes later, they were in front of a door guarded by 2 guards. Said guards saluted the captain, and the captain did a move of his hand and the guards left. He turned to Naruto and Zagark after that. Now no one enters. No one. He said sternly. Also, when she exits her room, you follow her everywhere and make sure she is safe. Naruto nodded. No problem. How long am I supposed to stay on guard? He asked. A few hours. Then you will be relieved, said the captain. Naruto nodded and saluted in the same manner as the guards before him did. The captain returned the salute and walked away, leaving Zagark and Naruto alone. The druid turned to Naruto and lowered at his level to whisper to him. Promise me you won't use your ninja skills, the ninjutsu what you talked about, he said. Why is that? Asked Naruto. Is a whisper. They had never seen things like that and might suspect you work for the Burning Legion and they will attack you. Explained the druid. It is best they don't know about your true powers yet. Naruto nodded. All right, I won't use any ninjutsu. He said, but I am allowed to use what I learned from the druids, right? Zagark nodded. Yes, they already know you can use spells. Naruto nodded. Zagark waved to him and left, leaving the boy alone. Naruto leaned on the wall near the door and closed his eyes, listening to everything around him. He could hear the sea outside and the boat's movement. He could hear a faint blow of the wind, and he could also hear breathing inside the room. Naruto opened his eyes and looked around. He didn't see anything. He unsheathed his swords and studied its blade. He was fascinated of the sheer power the blade was giving. The dark glow made it look demonic, in a way. He could have sworn he could hear the sword whisper, or at least someone whisper demanding blood. He at first thought it was Kyuubi, but recently the fox started behaving. Zagark explained that they had lifted Kyuubi's curse and rage, and he returned to his old self. But now Naruto was wondering who was demanding blood, who was whispering to him. Naruto sighed and sheathed his sword. He then unsheathed his dagger and studied it. The blade again was giving power, but it didn't glow in any kind of color. He wondered how he could use the dagger. He figured it isn't used like a kunai, that you throw it at your target. He flipped in the air and caught it. It wasn't heavy and easy to maneuver. He shrugged and placed the dagger back in its sheath. He suddenly heard something and tensed. He looked down the hallway, but he didn't see anything. He looked everywhere, even the ceiling, but there was nothing. He decided to ask to Fox if he knew anything. "Hey, Kyubi," said Naruto. "Yes, Kit?" came the response. "Do you feel anything?" he asked. "No, you must be paranoid or something. There is nothing here. All I can hear is what is happening outside and inside the room you are guarding," explained the fox. "And what is happening?" "Well, there is one person in the room that seems to be sleeping or something. Outside there are about 30 or so people working, even the druid and those 2 female elves," said Kyubi. Naruto nodded and leaned back on the wall and closed his eyes. He listened carefully. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was watched. He could help but think that something might happen soon. He heard someone opening the door he was guarding and he opened his eyes. He looked at the door and saw a girl coming out. It was the princess. Naruto's eyes widened for a second when he looked at her. She wore a white dress that showed her figure really good. The hair was tied in a ponytail. It was lucky that Naruto's face was covered, because she couldn't see the drool coming from his mouth. "Nice figure," said Kyubi, whistling. "She has a nice body." Naruto shook his head and silenced Kyubi. He looked at the girl and she looked back at him. She saw his blue eyes and smiled. "Naruto?" she asked, smiling. Naruto nodded. "How can I help you, princess?" he asked. The girl frowned and then smiled. She put her hand on Naruto's cheek, making him blush, but again she couldn't see as his face was covered. "Don't call me like that, everyone does. Call me by my name," she said. Said Naruto. "I don't think the captain would like that," he said seriously. "You can call me by my name in private. I just hate to be called princess constantly," she said. Naruto nodded. "Okay, then how can I help you, Phinia?" he asked. "Well, first, are you the one guarding my door?" she asked. "Yes, why is that?" "Just wanted to know," she responded sincerely. "Now, second, I know that you must follow me everywhere I go, is that right?" she asked. Naruto nodded again. "The captain said not to drop you out of my sight." "Okay," she said, closing the door behind her. "Come on, let's go to the cantina. I want to eat something," she said. Naruto nodded. The girl took the lead and Naruto was walking behind her. As they were walking, Naruto once again felt like someone was watching him and the girl. He glanced behind him, but he didn't see anything. "Kyubi? I know what you are going to say. Keep your eyes peeled. There is something ominous here," said the fox. Naruto nodded and continued walking while inspecting everything around him. A few minutes later, they entered the cantina. Inside were 3 long tables with 10 seats on each side, 20 per table. The girl walked past the tables to a dwarf with the same armor as the guards and same helmet. Naruto suspected the dwarf to be one of the guards. The dwarf heard someone coming and turned around. He saw the girl and saluted her. She waved her hand, telling him to stand down, which he did. "How can I hurt ya?" the dwarf asked. "Do you know where the cook is?" Phinia asked. "I'm a little hungry," the dwarf nodded. "I be right back," he said, walking towards a door and disappearing behind it. A few minutes later, he came out with a tray with a lot of food. He walked up to Naruto and gave it to him. "Thank you," said Phinia. "No problem." The dwarf said. Phinia turned around to leave and was closely followed by Naruto. When they exited the cantina, she turned to Naruto and took the tray in her hands. Naruto raised an eyebrow, which was seen by the girl. "I can handle this," she said. "You don't need to serve me. No one needs." "I don't know why they have to do all those things," she said with a frown. "It looks to me like you don't like being a princess that much." The girl shook her head. "Not always. I travel a lot and don't have time for friends. The worst part is that I have an arranged marriage and I don't know with whom." "What's so bad about that?" asked Naruto. "I don't want to marry someone I don't know, especially someone that is just after power, the power he will gain through marriage," she said, walking away. Naruto followed her closely behind. "But is it necessary for you to marry?" he asked. The girl nodded. "It's the only way I will become Stormwind's queen," she explained. "But is it necessary to marry someone you don't know? To follow the arranged marriage? Not always," she said, shaking her head. "Father said that if I find someone I like and is suitable to become my husband, then I won't have to go through an arranged marriage." "And you didn't find anyone so far?" asked Naruto. "No," she said. "All those that wanted to be with me wanted for power." She sighed. "I guess there isn't any honest person out there that would want to marry me just to be with me and not for my power." Naruto nodded. "I know what you mean, or at least kind of." The girl smiled at him. "Thank you for the conversation." She said. "I enjoyed talking to you. We should do it more often." "Yeah," said Naruto, scratching the back of his head. Again. A few minutes later, they arrived back at the girl's room. The girl was about to enter her room when Naruto grabbed her hand. She looked at him questionable. Naruto brought a finger to his lips, telling her to be quiet. Naruto let go of her hand. He turned to the door and grabbed the knob. He brought his hand to his sword's hilt, getting ready for anything. "Do you feel it?" asked Naruto. "Yes, death. It's the smell of death," said Kyubi. Naruto opened the door slowly and walked inside the room, looking at Phinia with the corner of his eye to be sure she was safe. As he entered her room, he saw all her things. The room was luxurious, and he even saw a staff with a strange blue crystal on one end lying on the bed. He then looked at the wall above the bed and his eyes widened. On the wall there was writing. Naruto approached the wall and put his fingers on the writing. It was written in blood. He ran outside the room. "Captain!" he yelled. "What's wrong?" asked Phinia. She wanted to enter her room but was stopped by Naruto, who shook his head. After a few seconds, the captain came running with 5 guards and Zagak. He saw the girl was out of her room and Naruto holding her arm. "What happened?" he asked, glaring at him, thinking he was doing something to the princess. Naruto let go of Phinia's arm and pointed to her room. The captain raised an eyebrow and walked inside. He spotted the writing. "I'm watching her. Right? Single quote." The captain swore and came back outside. "Damn it, we just left the port and we have our assassin on board." Phinia's eyes widened and the guards tensed. "We need to find him fast," said the captain. "Go and alert everyone." He said to the guards that saluted and ran away. "What do we do now?" asked Zagak. The captain turned to him. "We can't let the princess stay in this room anymore. The assassin might have a way to enter now." He said. The druid nodded and brought his hand to his chin. He closed his eyes and started thinking. "We could move her somewhere else, in another room." "I know, but where?" asked the captain. "No, where is safe, especially because the assassins are usually rogues." As he said that, both he and the druid turned to look at Naruto. The blonde tensed. "I didn't do anything. I was with her the whole time." He said. "Not that," said the captain. "Did you by any chance sense anything?" he asked. "Rogues always sense other rogues." Naruto thought for a second before he nodded. "Yes, I did sense something, but I didn't see anything." The captain nodded. "Then it's clear we have a rogue assassin on board." "Then we need to be even more careful," said the druid. "But the main priority is to move the princess from her current room to another." The captain nodded. "But there still is one thing," he said. "That being?" asked the druid, raising an eyebrow. "If the assassin wanted to kill the princess, why did he write that in blood on the wall to let everyone know he is here?" The captain asked. "Simple," said Zagak. "That is one of the assassins that like to play with your fear. He lets everyone know he is present and still kills. He takes down numbers till he is stopped. Suddenly they heard a scream and something metallic hitting the floor at the next level of the sleeping quarters. "Shit," said the captain. "The assassin. Let's go." He said. "Wait, my staff," said Phinia. "Here it is," the druid said, coming out of the room and holding her staff. She let the tray down on the ground and took her staff. The group ran down the hall with the captain in front. He was followed by Zagak. Behind the druid was the princess, and behind her Naruto, who was tensing more and more as he could feel even more and more danger as they walked. The smell of death made Naruto tense a lot. He wondered why no one smelled it, but as they arrived at the second level, they found 2 guards lying on the ground in a pool of their own blood. On the wall near them there was writing in blood. 2 down could be read. The captain swore even more and punched the wall. "Damn it! We lost 2 men, this is not good, and we have a pro here." "Can't we turn back?" asked Naruto. "I'm afraid we can't. We are already too far from Darnassus, and if the assassin sees that we are turning around, he will go directly for the princess," said the captain. "Wait, doesn't that mean that—" started Naruto to say, but was interrupted. But the druid— "Yes, that means that when we get closer to Menethil, he will strike more and more and will try to approach the princess for the kill." He said. "That leaves me only one choice," said the captain. "We need to move the princess in the same room with you, druid, since you can handle most of the stuff." The druid nodded. "Yes, it is true I can handle a lot of things, but the fact is that I cannot face a rogue alone, especially one as talented as this one," said Zagak, inspecting the dead bodies. "Then what do we do?" asked the captain. "I could look after her," said Naruto, gaining everyone's attention. The captain laughed mockingly. "You?" he asked. "You can't do anything." Naruto gritted his teeth. "Don't underestimate me," he said, growling. I think it's a good idea, said Zagok, as do I. Supported Phinia, but your highness, I can't just let you with this punk. He exclaimed, who knows what he could do? Or can't do? The princess waved her hand to stop him. I trust in his abilities. I know he is capable. But Phinia shook her head. It is my decision. She turned to Naruto. Show me your room. She said. Naruto looked at Zagok. I will move out. The druid said, I know you can handle it. Don't hold anything back anymore. He said, are you sure? Asked Naruto. Yes. This is far too dangerous to be taken lightly. Responded the druid with a nod. Naruto turned to the princess and motioned for her to follow him. They descended one level and walked down the hallway. After a few seconds, they came to a door. Naruto opened the door and walked inside, followed by Phinia. He closed the door and took a chair, placing it with the back at the wall near the door. He sat in the chair and looked at the girl. Phinia looked around the room. It was a simple cabin for travelers. She placed her staff on a bed and turned to look at Naruto, who was sitting on a chair near the door. She saw he was looking at her, and she looked out the window for a second before turning back to look at Naruto. What did Zagok mean by not holding anything back? She asked. I have special talents, said Naruto. So special no one ever saw them. The girl raised an eyebrow. How come? She asked. Naruto sighed. I cannot tell you now. I don't trust just anyone with something like this. The girl nodded and looked at the ground. I'm sorry, but if you want to know I am on your side, I just want to keep my talents a secret, said Naruto. The girl looked at him and smiled. I know that. She then sat on the bed and sighed. What's wrong? Asked Naruto. I'm a little afraid. I never faced a rogue before, she answered. Ah, said Naruto. Don't worry, I won't let anything happen. The girl looked at him and smiled. I know, that is why I said I trust you and your skills. Naruto gave a grin under his mask. There was a knock at the door. Naruto sat up and brought his hand to the sword's hilt, and he opened the door and saw Zagok there with 2 trays of food. Naruto stepped aside and the druid entered the cabin. The blonde boy closed the door behind him. Zagok placed the trays on the table and turned to Naruto. I thought you two might be hungry. He said, thank you, said Phinia, bowing her head. There is no need to bow to me. I am but a mere druid, he said as he took his stuff from the second bed. Where will you be? Asked Naruto the druid. In the shadows. He answered. Naruto raised an eyebrow. What do you mean by that? The druid turned to him and grinned. I packed my stuff not to take them away, but for them to be packets, seeing as I won't need them anymore. He took a container out of his pocket. I'm going to change, he said as he walked out the room. Phinia looked at Naruto. What did he mean by that? She asked. Naruto shrugged. I have no idea. A few seconds later the druid walked back in, but he looked different. Now he wore dark red cowl that covered his entire face. He wore leather shoulder guards that had the design of a claw on them. Their ending tips were bent upwards and the shoulder guards were coloured black. On his chest he wore leather armour with 2 pockets on its chest and 2 chains strapped from the chest to the belt. He wore the same belt. His boots were now black. He wore black pants and gloves. On his back was a staff whose top ending looked like bat wings with a green diamond between them. The girl immediately recognized what he wore. That is feral armor, she said. The druid nodded. That it is? What is feral armor? Asked Naruto. Feral armors are sued by druids that fight shapeshifted, explained the druid. He then was surrounded by green lines. He disappeared in a puff of smoke, and when the smoke cleared, instead of the druid stood a panther, the same one that the druids showed Naruto, and the same one that fought the 3 undead in Ashenvale. Zagok? Asked Naruto. The cat nodded. Yes. Oh, and what I meant by I will be in the shadows, I meant I will walk the hallways in my cat form. But what if you encounter the rogue? Asked Naruto. I will give a loud roar, said the cat that walked out the room. As soon as it was out, it seemed to fade from existence. Naruto looked around, wondering where he disappeared. He looked down the corridor, but the druid was nowhere. I suggest you close the door and keep an eye open for anything strange, said a voice that resembled Zagok's. Naruto nodded and walked back inside the room and closed the door, locking it. He took his seat back and sighed. He felt someone in front of him and he raised his head. He saw Phinia in front of him holding a tray and smiling. You should eat, she said. Naruto nodded and brought his mask down and took the tray from her, thanking her. She walked back to the table where her tray was and they started eating. When they were done, Naruto brought his mask back on his face and the girl lay down on the bed, watching the ceiling dot. Naruto sighed as he knew this will be hard. "You should shift in your fox form, the small one," said Kyuubi. "Why should I do that?" asked Naruto. "If the assassin only sees her, he will come out and we can grab him. He doesn't know you can shift in a fox, so use it to your advantage." "Yeah, but we are going to take a big risk by doing that," said Naruto. "The assassin might hit her before I can react." He felt Kyuubi shake his head. "Trust me, it will be much safer." "But—" "No, listen, he need to bring him out before he kills too many. Tell the girl you will shift and wait for the right moment," said Kyuubi. Naruto frowned. He looked at the girl who was still lying on the bed. He got up and walked to her. She turned her head to look at him. Naruto then lowered his head to whisper to her. "I am going to shift into an animal," he said. "Why?" asked the girl. "So we can draw the assassin out. Don't worry, you won't be hit, I promise that," he said, smiling. The girl didn't know why, but felt like he was saying the truth. She nodded, and Naruto took a step back. He closed his eyes, and he was enveloped in a puff of smoke. When it cleared in the same spot where he stood, there was a small one-tailed fox with flaming red fur. "Oh, you're so cute," said Phinia as she took the fox in her arms. "Thank you," said Naruto, blushing. Only that it wasn't seen since he had red fur. "But there is one thing I don't understand," she said, looking in the fox's eyes. "How come you can shift like a druid?" Naruto sighed, which looked cute to the girl. "Well, Zagark says I am a combination of rogue, mage, and druid." The girl's eyes went wide. "How come?" she asked. "Don't know, it's just as I am. This is one of my special talents that I want to keep safe." He said, "Promise you won't tell anyone." "Please," the girl nodded. "Don't worry, your secret is safe with me." Naruto nodded and jumped down from her arms on the floor. He walked to the chair and jumped on the chair and saw while waving his tail and looking at the girl. The girl giggled at the side and then lay down on the bed. After a few hours, the girl fell asleep and Naruto was still looking over her. He thanked Kyuubi for putting a jutsu on him. The fox placed a jutsu that will keep Naruto awake for a week. To Naruto, it seemed like the fox was becoming more of a friend, and he was more and more helpful. He didn't realize, though, that the fox will now become his greatest ally to what has to come.